Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Monstark and Me, episode number 46. Hopefully you all enjoyed the D&D episode. Nobody's let us know, though. I am me.
And I'm Monstark. And
Um,
it's okay if you didn't even listen to it, because I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. But I'm kind
ha-
of like
have you
in for any
gotten...
D&D content now because I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. It's definitely been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um, so this is a regular episode of Monstark and Me. But it may not
Yeah.
be a full 3 hours because Monstark is freshly vaccinated.
Clock is ticking down to my like 12-hour mark. So right about the time we this may end up being a because I feel a little I mean I'm not like trying to show off my giant like guns here, but I feel like I'm getting hot flashes.
Mm.
So I'm like hot and I have like a little spacey and I may this may end up going into like some sort of decline like the sad the sad short story Flowers, was it Flowers for
Flowers
Algernon,
for
where
Algernon. Yeah.
yeah, this may just or like when they unplugged Hal, like I may just slowly just
um,
start speaking more and more slowly.
so yeah, you've since
Here's
we
number
last
two.
did, I'm fully vaccinated and have been for about 3 weeks. Um, and you just got number two, so you are on your way to being fully
Full.
vaccinated.
Yes.
Um, my sister,
And
our
then
DM, is uh, she just had her second shot last week. So Bianca's been fully vaccinated for, I think, 2 weeks now, a week or two. So,
that's wonderful. I think
um,
I think most
no,
people I know well, at least that I've talked to,
yeah, yeah.
they're
I am not planning on stopping wearing my mask at any point. Um, I I'm really confused by the like new mask rules now. Like,
mm-hmm. Because they're confusing. I don't even
well,
think
they
people
they
know them.
are. Yeah, yeah. I mean, because there are these federal rules, but the federal rules are overridden by any local rules.
Yeah.
But all the people that didn't want to wear a mask in the first place are now going to use the new like CDC mandates as a reason to just not wear masks anymore. Like, I don't know what their plan is on how to stop that unless they're just going to say like, if people are worried about that, then just make the local mandates that you still have to wear masks or something, but I don't know.
Or
It doesn't
by
seem like it
business.
was
I
very
mean,
well thought out.
like a lot of it. I
Yeah.
feel like I feel like yeah, people didn't. I don't know. Like I don't know what the state thinks I'm supposed to do because I don't like check up on it every day, and
Yeah, same here. It's
it
like
changes often. I just
I'm just
I
gonna
don't care.
keep wearing one forever, probably, or at
Yeah.
least like for several more months, at least, probably at least till the end of the year, because
Yeah.
I don't really trust people
Right.
enough to like trust that they're
Yeah.
doing the right thing. You know?
We're not good at that. Although you should work in a just for experiment sake, like get a MAGA um, mask just to confuse people, since everyone seems to be, you know, that seems to have become like a tell of some sort, which is
Hmm.
I don't know. I thought we would get past the fucking just we haven't
No.
Now it's like, well, oh, you're demasking, but before so and so time, that means you're a whatever. I'm just tired of it. I just don't care anymore. And I don't like I haven't followed anything really. Like I'll catch up. I'll find out later that oh yeah, the mandate we had a mandate in the state or something. But I have not known personally like what the state wants me to do at any you know fucking given moment. I've just done my
Yeah, it's been the same with
thing.
me. I haven't really been paying any attention because I'm just like, I'm going to keep wearing a mask, which, like, regardless of whether or not I need to, I'm going to keep wearing one because people are fucking dumb.
Well,
And, like,
not to like turn this into like vax talk, but how do you feel about just like going commando? I mean, going mask commando, maskless. I
I
probably should.
mean,
I already know how you feel about
I,
going commando, but the mask thing. Um,
um, I'm really uncomfortable with it, even though I know that I'm vaccinated. Like,
doesn't feel
I
safe to
haven't,
you?
no, it doesn't.
Hmm.
I don't know why. Um, I think it's just simply because at this point I'm so used to it that
Hmm.
it's the craziest thing that I've done, if you want to go into that, is uh, last weekend Bianca and I went and we had lunch with my mom in Napa, and for the first time in 14, 15 months, we drove in the same car together for a while and didn't wear a mask in the car. That's like that's the craziest thing that I've done in the last like 15 months as far as
Yeah.
like interacting with people without a mask. But it's like we're all three fully vaccinated people, you
Hmm.
know. So like but still it felt fucking weird cuz it's been so long since we've had any interactions like that.
Yeah.
So,
Did it, you almost feel like you were being naughty, or was it just, or it
yeah.
felt unsafe or something? Because I feel like that there's some people are going to deal with like, oh, I should, it's like somebody's going to call me out on this, or like I'm going to get in trouble for not wearing a thing if somebody sees, versus like feeling safe around. That's all I
I
care
mean,
about is the feeling safe part. But
I think that we've been
uh,
maybe like uh we had lunch today in Petaluma in a restaurant indoors for the first time in a really long time. We had done that once before,
mm,
and it was right after like some indoor dining opened up, and I was angry the entire time because people kept, and this was before we had gotten the vaccines, but people kept
uh,
getting up from their tables forgetting that they didn't have their masks, and they would like walk up to the like counter. It was just like a fast food joint. We were like hungry. People would like just get up and start walking towards the counter, not putting their masks on, and that happened like 5 times in the like half hour that we were there. And I was just like, God fucking damn it. And I was like, we're not doing this again for like several months. We're just not going out and eating indoors anytime soon.
like
Um,
sitting there seething with rage with a mouthful of burger.
yep, exactly.
Not a
Um,
good time.
but I mean, it's like I've heard a lot of other people like you said that yeah, they went to a restaurant for the first time since the whole pandemic started. Like we've eaten outdoors at places on multiple occasions. Um, but it's like if we're not if I'm not like eating, and even if we're just sitting there waiting, my mask is on until food arrives. So it's because I don't think you haven't really eaten out anywhere since this whole thing started, and I don't
No, that
think
was like,
like Nick did either.
yeah. No, it was my personal kind of just. I kind of just said, you know what, just fuck all that stuff. Like I don't even.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even want to like go. And eventually, that caused me to just kind of like stop trying even to just like navigate around it. Like I stopped even trying to uh, see anybody or like just like have a coffee. It's like I just was tired of just having to overthink. It's so unnatural, and I think that's in part that's why I just said screw it. I'm not gonna like I don't. It feels too weird and unnatural to like go out and like have this kind of partial experience, where everybody's just like where I can't stand people just like having to fall in line and be worried, you
Right.
know, but and afraid of each other. Like I didn't enjoy that. So yeah, no, I haven't been for some reason I stopped kind of like I stopped well, not that I eat fast food, but like I stopped I decided I'm not gonna go to places like that. I rarely would like get food out, and that took a while. And I know I realize these are probably really dumb standards, but I kind of just I don't necessarily trust food preparation anyway in general.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is like an added thing to that, and I'm like, fuck fast food. If I'm not gonna eat donuts. That was another thing for some reason. I'm like, because I always envision anyway, like pastries and donuts, just like
Right.
sitting there and like things alighting, and I'm like, I'm sure that not scientifically sound,
I
but
remember like when the whole pandemic started, like people were like talking about the procedures that they would go through after getting their groceries back from the store. Like they were
yeah,
removing every single item from their bag of groceries and like sanitizing each and every one.
hmm
And I didn't do any of that, but mostly just because I'm lazy. Like that just
a
seems
lot
like
of
a
work.
lot of fucking work.
It is.
So
I can tell
I
you
was
from
just like,
experience.
no. Yeah.
I also have a thing about like I mean I'm starting to sound like some fucking Howard Hughes uh, freak or something. I'm really not. I just like I just decided I'm gonna do these things because I'm good at that. I'm good at like I wash my hands all the time anyway.
Hmm.
I'm good at like knowing if I've like touched gross stuff or like if
Yeah.
I've touched the gas thing and like not gonna lick my hand or something. I'm already good at that stuff. So I just like a kind of ramped it up a little bit and just kept it in place uh and yeah, including doing like washing things up. But I don't know. I don't really care about like even because I know part of it was just like it made me feel better at the time, and I felt like because there was so much bad information and like lack of information on so many fronts, uh, and it was changing over time. And we talked about this before, like not being able to trust, for example, like
Hmm.
the initial, the fucking CDC initially saying, "Well, don't worry about Matt. Like, don't even masks don't work, so don't." In an effort to like keep those in supply or something.
Right. Right.
I mean, that was just fucked. It kind of made me feel like I couldn't really trust,
It
when they're
was
playing
weird,
games like
man.
that.
I went I ordered some new N95 masks on Amazon yesterday.
Mhm.
Um A because like I'm still planning on wearing masks, but also because I know it's fucking inevitable within the next few months that we're going to have another fucking fire here. Um so it's like,
Yeah.
well, I can I'll have stock for the fires that'll inevitably be happening again.
Yeah.
And I can have, some more masks to wear. Um
Yeah. Good thinking.
but there's so fucking many of them now. Like there are so many masks available on Amazon now. I was like, holy shit. They're like different fucking
Well,
colors. Like the variety is incredible now.
yeah.
Um but
I'm
yeah,
caught up.
I have 50 N95 masks coming. 25 that are
Damn.
plain black. Well, I got two 25 packs and another that are in gray, navy blue, pink, burgundy, and bright blue. It's gonna be just
Something to go with all your shoes.
exactly. Gotta
That's
match.
pretty sweet, actually. I might have to look into. Um, yeah. Oh, I want to make a quick aside in
Yes.
case anybody's looking. This back here. This is my cat Grippo. Hey.
Hey,
Oh,
Grippo.
he makes a
Yeah.
little noise.
So for anybody that I guess that's something that we should have mentioned at the top. For anybody that's listening to this via just their regular podcast apps, um, we've started recording these, and there is a Monstark and Me YouTube channel where we're basically just going to post the recording of this. So it
We
will now exist in video and audio
the
format.
video, yes, yes.
Um,
Lucky you.
yes,
But
lucky
I
you.
mean, and it's a great one to start because we can watch Monstark slowly get sweatier and sweatier and
Exactly.
drift off into space
Into
out.
just sheer
It's
delirium.
perfect.
Um, did you
Uh,
remind me? Do you get Pfizer or Moderna?
Pfizer.
Okay, so most people I know that got hit hard got Moderna, but I have another friend that did get Pfizer, and he did
In your
wind up
face.
getting a bit sick. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I didn't have
I feel like it's
any
all over the
issues
place.
the second time around.
Awesome.
But Bianca felt a little bit sick. Trisha felt a little bit sick. They both had Moderna, and then I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. We'll see.
It's
We
a
shall
toss
see.
up. I think we shall see live.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't know if I planned well for that, but here we go.
Do you have a bucket
It's an
nearby or
experiment.
anything?
I actually there is a bucket over there.
Okay.
I was thinking ahead again. It's like I was going to be prepared. So uh, yeah. Just before this, kind of like apropos of nothing, I was I well, I think I'd heard it before, but I found out that my mom became aware of this podcast through my nephew Nick,
Oh,
one of my
really?
favorite people. What's up, Nick? Thanks for spreading the news. But he did warn her that like there's language, so I'll have to make a supercut for mom if she wants to hear anything.
Would your mom actually
Um,
legit get upset with you if she heard you cursing?
well, no, but it would be a milestone because I don't. I mean, I've made the conscious effort my entire life to not around mom.
It was kind of funny. I
Even
feel
when
like
even when everyone else is, I just can't. I won't do
interesting.
it.
My mom, it was kind of funny. Like back in the day, I would have gotten in trouble for swearing in front of my mom, but nowadays, like she actually curses in front of me more than I do in front of her. And so that there was a point in our relationship where just like the facades just kind of like deteriorated.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think I told you the story when I was like in my early 20s, like when I would come home from Portland, and I didn't have anywhere to stay in California. I would stay in their spare room, and I used to like, after dinner or something, I might, you know, borrow my mom's car and drive to Santa Rosa and see friends for a while, and then come back later. And I got into this like there was this one day that for some reason, like her husband decided he didn't want me going out and borrowing the car. And like I could hear him trying to convince my mom to not let me use the car and saying like I remember overhearing him saying like there are a lot of gangs in Santa Rosa. I'm like, yeah, I know. Some of those guys are actually my friends that I'm going to visit. Like he was saying he's going to drink and then drive home, and I'm like, I don't. I
Oh
mean,
my
even when I
god.
was 21, I didn't drink. Um, so it was all this like nonsense, and finally, like she handed me the keys and said, go. And I'm pulling out of the driveway, And my mom comes into the garage again and to say like, just don't drive like a lunatic. And I knew that that was like another thing that he had told her. So I told my mom like, I don't know what Scott's been telling you, but I'm not a fucking idiot. And I just like that. She says, I know, I know. She
No.
goes back into the house, and immediately afterwards, he comes into the garage, reaches in through the window to grab the keys, and literally starts pulling me out of the car, like by force. And he was pissed off because I had cursed in front of my mom. I'm like,
Oh,
she curses more than I
siblings.
do. Like, what the fuck? Like, it was so fucking dumb. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, who
Well,
cares? They're just words.
but she's they are just words. She's reached the point in life where she had at the time. She earned it. You hadn't
Yeah,
earned it yet.
I guess so. I guess I can see that. But I don't know. It was
I've
just
always
really silly.
yeah I've always been fascinated with friend like it's mostly like families of friends who curse all the time like at each other, but in a like in a loving, I just it's really charming to me because I didn't grow up like that. So I just kind of loved seeing it. It's like filthiness, like filth all the time, and it's just like this whole
I don't curse in front of
loving
my
environment. But
dad.
they're
I just realized that I don't curse in front of my dad and his family, and I think it's because they're religious.
probably a good. That's
At least
respectable.
not much. Like I might a little bit, but not much. I hold back a bit. And I do, and I hold back in front of my mom too, for the most part. But I'm
It's
not
not a. I
like,
mean that's a good plan
yeah.
in general.
So life slowly returning back to normal, which I'm,
Yeah,
I'm dreading the day that I get called back into the office. That I don't want that part to come anytime soon. I'm fine not seeing those people. And
it's
some
gonna
of
be
them are
tough
kind of
for anybody.
friends, but not real. Not enough to make me like want to run back and see those people again.
Right. And you lost what? Freezer Cash, right?
Yeah, he's
Freezer Cash
gone.
left.
Yeah,
Uh, can
that's
I don't know if you want to, huh?
that's a good nickname. Freezer
Freezer
Cash.
Cash. Um, you mentioned the. I don't know if we should. You mentioned the documentary. Had you mentioned that here before?
No.
Okay, then
Cuz that
never mind.
that would probably be
That's bad
very
news.
easy to connect dots there.
Okay, cool,
But
fair
yeah.
enough. Keep it cryptic.
Yeah. Um
Um,
my new boss is actually pretty cool. Like they hired a guy who actually knows what they're doing, and he's kind of he's inserted himself as kind of like a barricade between uh, normal management and us. Well, the marketing department, which still for now is just me and this guy, but he's kind of acting as a buffer, which is nice. And I don't think he gives a shit if I'm in the office or not. Like, there's certain people that, that will probably need to be, like the graphic designer that we need to hire and stuff like that. Like, that's somebody that will probably need to be on site, but um, I don't think he gives a
poor
shit.
bastard. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in
It-
normal places, you wouldn't really need to have your graphic designer be on site all the time, but
no, no, not in a normal place.
yeah.
Maybe in
But
like some of the places we've
mm,
worked.
yeah,
I I don't I mean, I'm hoping this is like a lesson for. I don't know. Like, it just gets changing everything, but
I
uh,
do. I mean, like I feel like if you've gone this far and have not figured out how to function without people on site, then you're just not very good at running a business.
Hmm.
Like it's pretty fucking simple nowadays. Like
Hmm. Or
it's
you're
not
paranoid.
difficult. Yeah. Well, that's the
You need
thing.
to
I think.
you need to watch people and put spy software on and
Hmm.
well, to
Exactly.
various other things.
Yeah. I mean, that is just like, just do better at hiring. Like, if you don't trust the people that work for you, just hire better people. Like, it means that your hiring department aren't doing their jobs. It's
Yeah.
just like, I don't know. Like, hire people.
Or give them more agency and pay.
Do you remember the emergency otter uh, thing I told you about? It was shortly after I started working at. I mean, oops, fuck. Um, Let me take down the time code there. Shit.
Yeah.
26 minutes in. Um,
I've never heard of that. I don't know what you're talking about.
um,
So I don't. Do you make up
there
a word?
was there was
What, is this like the trains? Like the train,
yes,
C train, think tracks or something? No,
exactly.
the reverse.
C
C
track think
otter.
train. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
C
no, it
track,
was
think
like
train.
this. There was this image that somebody I used to work with. He would send over every once in a while, um, like if people were like stressing out over something. It was like basically a little meme with an incredibly cute otter that was like, you know, like, don't be stressed out. Look at this cute picture of an otter. And I was trying to find that image um, because I thought it was funny and I was going to send it to somebody. So I just went to Google Images and looked up emergency otter, forgetting that otters in the gay community, it's kind of like you have bears and
Yes,
cubs and
wolves.
otter.
I'm
There, so
missing a
otter
couple.
is a thing. And
Yes, I
so
remember now. Yes.
yeah, so I just went and hit emergency otter into Google Images, hit and enter, tons of dicks. And I was like, oh, it's like shit. Thankfully, I think that
So
was before they installed the spy tracking on our browsers,
those are, I
which
mean,
made it
those,
impossible for us to do our jobs.
yeah, naturally. Those two words, even together, are, uh, I mean, there's nothing there. Separately or together. Emergency otter.
Yeah, I don't know.
You have to be like the person, I
Well,
mean, that
I
person must
think
have known, right? That's a kind of a
I would
random.
assume so.
If that's
But
what
the
comes
thing
up
is, I
when you
mean, like,
search
I
it,
imagine that if you just typed otter into Google Images, you would get a lot of pictures of otters. So it's
sure.
something about adding the word emergency in front of it that
Hmm.
turned most of the results into dicks. And I don't know what that correlation
Like
is.
a magical
Yeah.
incantation or interesting.
It's very, very
How
odd.
did it is and it's taken over apparently. It's number
I
one,
guess so. I
at least
mean,
paid one.
yeah. I don't know. I guess
I,
I can. Let's see if it's still the case.
I don't remember the
Emergency otter.
otter characteristics. It's
Huh.
been a long time.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm seeing 90 plus percent actual otters, and very few dicks.
So so
Interesting.
someone at the company had been
I guess so.
that's interesting.
Very interesting.
Having a little personal time. Mm.
Very well could be. I remember, God, it's like working in IT. So I remember once having to reformat a computer after somebody left because she left
Ooh.
nudes of herself on the computer after she had been fired.
As a retaliatory
I don't think so.
strike, or
I don't think so.
like she slipped in a thumb drive and
This girl, like, I don't like to make comments about people's intelligence, but I once saw this person walk in.
yes, you do.
Um, she she was she liked the to date dudes that had a lot of money and would give her stuff. So she had this like really nice motorcycle, and she came in to the office once and still had her motorcycle helmet on, and her cell phone rang, and she picked it up and like smacked it into the side of her helmet because she forgot that she was wearing it. Like she was trying to talk on the phone with a motorcycle helmet on, just went like whack. I was like, that's interesting. I've worked with some really dumb people in my past, but
Uh-huh. Do tell.
there there was somebody else who um she needed help. Her printer wouldn't work, and I looked into the back of the computer. I mean, it seemed like it like had power and everything. It wasn't printing. And then I turned her computer tower around, and she had plugged the USB cable from the computer. It was jammed diagonally into the Ethernet port. Like
Wow.
it doesn't even like fit. Like I don't even know how she had
She
managed to
made it
jam
fit.
it in there. But I was like, yeah, it goes into the socket that actually looks exactly like the plug that is supposed
Well,
to
she's
go
probably
into
just
it.
fumbling and finding
Yeah,
a, any port in the storm, as they say.
literally.
Fumbling in the dark.
Yes. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Lots of
I
other
had
jokes I
a
won't say.
right. um
um,
like I actually I had started a Twitter account a long time ago where I just like they said so much uh just randomly stupid stuff on a regular basis that it was like uh
it seemed like a character
yeah.
at some point.
um and it was so both me and a friend I worked with had our own uh had our Twitter accounts. And she I'm looking up random stuff. Yeah, this is a real complaint about the new digital phone system that they had installed. If the person on the other end isn't talking, I can't hear anything. It's like, well, yeah, isn't that how phones work? Like,
Disconcerting to
right,
not to hear like room noise and
right.
breathing.
Um, there's another one. Tigers aren't cats; they're animals.
Yeah.
It's another one. Everybody's got their hair. It's a hair day.
This has got to be character.
Nope, these are all
Somebody's trying to. What? Oh, wait. You knew this person,
yes. Yeah.
so you knew that this was like their
Yeah,
brand.
these were real things. I didn't quote overseas because China was closed. I'm just having a brain Twinkie. I'll get to that shortly. Um,
It sounds like they think that they're being sort of clever.
mm,
w- Uh,
I hate bilingual toys. I don't want my child learning Spanish. He can't even speak English. The ambulance has shown up and there's a dead body on the ground. Your job is to calm him down and make him feel good about the t shirt. I don't know what that's even in reference to, but
oh, they had to have been something chemically altered or something when they were doing some of these,
I don't
or the
know.
I mean, I guess you knew the person.
He's Cuban. I thought he was Hispanic. No, I know who the
It,
people were that these quotes are from, and they're
okay.
100% legit. Like,
Okay.
this was a former boss's wife that worked in a promotional products industry.
Mhm.
Um, they were both married, the boss and his then wife, and started cheating on their spouses with each other, and then dumped
Nice.
their respective spouses and wound up getting married. And then, of course, that lasted for not very long because uh, if you start a relationship uh, based on infidelity, chances are it's not going to have that great of a foundation. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I'm trying to find some more good quotes. Although, oh yeah, I also used to regularly have to work on their kids' laptops. Like I once literally
Oh,
had
Jesus.
this woman brought in her son's laptop and was trying to get me to install World of Warcraft for her kid. I'm like, this is what you want me to do? You're paying me to install WoW on your kid's laptop? Like she was like, my son can't get these to install. Can you try? And I looked at the fucking discs, and they like, it looks like somebody had taken sandpaper to the
Oh, Jesus.
fucking CDs.
Did she ask you to grind out some? Uh, I don't know what you get in
Thankfully,
World of
no.
Warcraft.
No, thankfully,
They
no.
they paid somebody from another country to do that. Probably.
Yeah,
It's like
probably.
it's like the kid from Willy Wonka.
Someone in the office on a
Yep.
phone call just said, "Well, look at you, Mrs. Juicy Creativity." Like, so obviously, halfway through that sentence, they realized they didn't know where they were going, but somehow the word juicy came out of it. I'm like, ew, ew.
Creativity can be quite juicy. I
I
would attest to that.
guess.
Sometimes,
I guess. Yeah, these
definitely
were all
the
from
act of
like
creation.
these. I'm looking through these. These are all from 2009. So this is very.
Oh my god.
This is old stuff. And I wish that I could actually log in. I don't even know the info to this account anymore. And when I change it, because the icon I chose was Dilbert, and this was before discovering that the creator of Dilbert is a crazed redneck.
Uh-huh. I
So,
think I just got that this was your account quoting this person in your office.
yes,
I think
yes,
because I think you mentioned that a long time ago.
yeah. At the very
Something about
beginning,
it.
I said something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's fascinating. That's such a great time capsule of eh, not that I'm an intellectist or like I've said recently, I kind of care more now about emotional intelligence because
yes,
that's where we all meet, like whatever, like science facts and shit, I don't really care. But there's definitely a level that really creeps me out of like not being self-aware,
hmm
one, and not being able to, and I don't, maybe it has to do with writing because I see this a lot on the like on social media and stuff. People can't put together a sentence, or
yeah.
they're writing literally things like you're reading. They're writing that stuff out, and it's like non sequitur over and over, and they just pump that out constantly into the
I
void.
regularly see like I get a you know I see like all incoming like social media chats and like when people review us at work and stuff. Thing that drives me nuts is people who don't use punctuation at all. Like how do you
Oh.
read that?
Hmm.
Like, how do you make any sense of something when there's literally zero punctuation in it? It's like you don't know when a thought starts and ends. Like,
Yeah. I think of the inside of the person's head.
mm,
Like, how does that work? What does it sound like in there? Is everything mashed together and it just like
I
streams
feel like
out
it must be.
uh again, it's sounding sort of elitist or whatever, but I don't get it. It's almost like it'd be scary to be in that inside that head to me
Yes. Yeah.
because there's like I think it speaks to a level of disorder or something that I usually don't, apart from like uh, state. Usually I'm not like in a state of disorder in there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I feel like
and
that would kind
I
of
like it.
drive me a little bit crazy. Like if that was the way that my brain worked, I don't think I could last very long without losing my fucking mind.
Actually, I think it would be okay if that was your tool to navigate the world with. It'd be okay. You would have been used to it long ago.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I mean, yeah, if you weren't able to deal with it, you would have two choices: either like figure out how to deal with it, or just go off the deep end and live your life as a crazy person.
Hmm. What I don't get is like when people don't express any amount of like creativity, maybe mostly in action, but like sometimes in like creative thought,
Hmm.
or there's like an overabundance of rigidity sometimes. I just really just don't understand it. It's like an alien thing. Like lack of
Rigidity
fluidity.
meaning just like not being able to accept different types of thinking,
Well,
or
yeah, that and like you just can't roll with like, it's like
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah,
yeah, I mean actually the creepiest one is where people just like they believe a thing and then it's just like we've talked about this stuff before, but like people where it's just say people are discussing, some wacky concept and it somehow hooks into like religion or the Bible and a person gets completely offended by the fact that
right,
somebody's even like that's really creepy.
right, right.
Um, and I
Yeah,
just
when the inability to accept an alternative point of view, essentially.
or just like yeah, like all of your everything's falling apart because somebody is questioning. I
Right.
just don't fucking understand that.
I've seen
So
that like in action so many times, and it's always frightening because
yeah,
it's real. It's showing the fragility of that person's ego and how easily their world can be shattered. It's
this
like,
is like the guy.
whoa.
This is like the guy in the car. You think you're so much better than me?
Right, exactly.
But and I say that because like I heard a recent example of that, like an interview or something where people are talking about I forget what it was, something like fallen angels or some like sort of like weird fringy area of the like biblical stories, and apparently to a biblical scholar or something, it's a thing it's accepted as like it's been around. The concept has been around in discussion for a while, whatever that is. Anyway, but I heard somebody sort of like it was like a call in thing, so they called in to respond to it, and the guy's just like he kept saying over and over, "This is just such a like I can't believe that you did," and then he said it, and then they say, "Well, no, this is like a concept we've like scholars have known about this for decades. We've talked about this," and he's even listening to that after he just had well, I just can't believe that you did the. It's just you can't get through that. It is
Yeah,
exactly like that guy in the fucking car. I
yeah.
You think you're so much better than me?
I
Rolling it
was
just around and around in his head. Everybody thinks you're so much better than me. I don't understand.
it's really
It
uncomfortable
should be
when you
like that.
see like people melting down like that. Like I was out yesterday, like uh I just randomly decided to go to Ross at like 10 o'clock at night, and like some dude went there.
Oh, I miss
I,
going to
I think
Ross.
he was trying to like put something over on like one of the checkout clerks, like claiming that he didn't buy something or something like that. And so like she came back with the security footage and like saying
Mm.
like we this is the footage of you purchasing this thing. And like he just like he just was kept losing his shit more and more and more and more, to the point that he was like just yelling at this person like, you're stealing from me, man. And then he tried to tried to rally all the other shoppers around him on his way out, like, don't shop at Ross. And it's like they're like, I don't know, half a dozen people in there. They're just like, dude, fuck off. It's just
Eh.
like, man, you are melting down
He's
in front
waving a
of like
hanger. Revolt!
everybody.
Come
Right,
on, people, let's get
exactly.
him.
um
Lighting his Ross bags on fire.
exactly. uh so there are a few things I wanted to actually ask you about. One, and I know this is kind of up your alley. There's been a hell of a lot of like uh, UFO stuff in the news recently, um,
Mm.
and also is cryptocurrency uh, becoming the new bro thing of choice?
I
Like
I feel like it is.
cryptocurrency is another one of those things. It's like Joe Rogan. It's like the more you're into what that thing, the chances are the less I would actually like you. It's I don't know. It
Because
just
it's a
seems to be the new bro thing of choice.
well, it's like you've talked, it's just the same thing. Like you've talked about Rogan that way. Like
Yeah.
people
It's
who
like the more
and I
you're into
can't,
Rogan, the more I don't think we would ever get along.
like if you see him as a
Yes. Like if you look up to
someone
this
who
guy, if you religiously listen to every single one of his podcasts, if you
right.
follow everything that he does, it's like if
Yeah.
you listen to like a handful of episodes because you're interested in his guest, that's like, I get that. I've done that. But if you're
That's
like, if you
where I always
listen, if you
entered into
just,
that.
yeah, if you're like, I listen to absolutely everything he does, and I think, he's fucking awesome, and, you know, Joe
It's
Rogan for the
it's just
win.
like the Elon Musk thing now.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
he's like I mean, sort of in the
I feel
same.
like he's stepping into that a little bit as well.
Yeah. Um. So yes, I think it is just and I have been sort of monitoring it. Like I mean, I took time off, and I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have like stayed engaged, and because there was a long period where nobody cared about it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything was super cheap.
Yep.
But when it was like back before the first, huge like Bitcoin spike and everything. When it was like getting insane, it was getting into the news, and
Yeah, I
regular
think when
random
you
people
and
were talking
I
about it.
worked together, um I feel like that was the first spike.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it had still been around for years and years, but it was like it kind of, that's when it started making mainstream media and getting a ton of news coverage everywhere.
yeah, yeah. And uh, that was when I kind of got. I mean, I saw some like it was really like like an artist or somebody posting something about it, like how they were playing with it.
Mm.
Um, and I got interested because the whole thing was fascinating to me and kind of weird, and especially when people like it seemed like nobody really understood it, and but mainstream, it's like I remember having to try like describe this to my mom, stepdad. I was like, not that I was this huge proponent, but I just thought it was really interesting. Anyway, so and then there were years because it was like 2017, and there were years in between where nobody really, I mean, outside the circles was talking about it, And um now it's like the community is just, I mean, gigantic. It is like this huge thing. Like people are, uh, it's kind of a broy thing, like for coins and like for people who are talking about coins. There's like a lot of Twitter garbage about it, but um, yeah, it's interesting. The only reason I care is because like I actually like back in the when I first got into it, I put in a little bit just to sort of stay.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even that much. Like it wasn't a huge amount. It was just like, you know, an amount that like I just was like, I'll just throw that in there and see what happens. Because like it kind of gave me a stake in it, and then I could like watch. And part of me thought, which was actually right back then, that this is not gonna go away, and it's probably gonna rise. And back at that time, it like since then it's gone like twice. I mean, the more recent spike, it's like twice the worth twice the amount. For example, for Bitcoin, and like a lot of other things have come up too since then, and kind of gone in and out. But it's kind of actually like I feel, just to get personal about it for a moment, like I feel like I this would be my version of gambling because
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
anytime I've looked, because I'm always thinking like just if you spend a little bit that you'll never miss, just some like small amount, and just like put that away in like little. This is what I did the original buy with, like a few different things. Like I just got an amount that I wouldn't even miss, or that I could leave for years or something, um and then actually like the next thing, it was actually what last end of last year, kind of like I peeked in again because I was like, oh yeah, right, like I forgot. I had to go like get my all my information to like get my to look at it again, and yeah, and like the little portfolio had increased. It was like fucking like fivefold or something, just like by leaving it in there. So it's like, oh
I
wow, that's
remember
kind of
hearing the
exciting. And
stories though.
then I
It's
wanted to
like
buy more and more, but I didn't.
I remember that, back I think probably 2017 it must have been, like when you started that first initial explosion. I remember hearing a story about this guy who uh somehow managed to accidentally like lose, like he somehow accidentally threw away either the hard drive or a USB drive that kept like the key that you
Uh,
need for your Bitcoin.
mhm.
Um, and he like the amount of Bitcoin that he had bought in early, and that he had that initial huge first explosion. So he had like millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, but he couldn't access it. And so this
Mhm.
guy was like spending all of his days at like the local dump, just rooting through garbage, trying to find the key to his Bitcoin wallet.
Oh God.
Like, oh my God, man. Like,
Oh my God. The rest of his days spent.
yeah, I mean, it's like the saddest. But there have been all these stories of like, I think 50 Cent or something like that. He released an album, like probably around that time or a little earlier, and he just randomly like he accepted Bitcoin as a form of payment for
Mhm.
his album, and so like he wound up like with millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin because people had used some Bitcoin to pay for his album like in 2015 or some shit like that. And it had this like massive explosion. And so suddenly like the little money that he gotten for like album sales through cryptocurrency were like suddenly worth a ton of money.
Mhm.
But I mean, it is incredibly appealing. The thing with me is like the fucking people that spend all their time talking about it. It's like it's really fucking obnoxious, and it's not like they kind of make me less interested because it's all those people talk about. It's just so like so many of the people like on Twitter are so single-minded about that's the thing that they're interested in. I'm like, it's no different. I mean, it really is gambling, and the more people seem to like the more uh the more, I guess, like authoritative the voice, the sillier they seem, because it's just like there's
Mm.
no rhyme or reason to any of this, and trying to like force rhyme or reason into it just doesn't really seem
Oh,
to
okay.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's
know, it's just
like they're
like,
forecasting or something.
yeah, but it's like this stuff just it's like it's ethereal. It just moves at the whim of the universe. You know, it's like trying. You know, everybody was so excited that like when Elon went on Saturday Night Live that they were going to see this massive spike, and the absolutely and like he got on TV and like boom, it just like dropped a bunch. You know, like the Dogecoin thing. But I
Uh,
admit, like I gotten into like I set up a an account on like
really?
one of the, I mean, I put like $10 into account, but I haven't bought anything because it was like, you know, it's just
Just
like,
just p- just buy it like something and just hang on to it.
well, the thing was, I think I registered when I was going to try to buy some like Dogecoin or something, but
Yeah.
I registered on one where you couldn't buy it. And then it was like, oh, it's
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
it's like you have to convert money into the this thing, and then once you have that thing, then you can buy those other things. And it was like,
Yeah.
that's just too much work. It was like
Like you
this was I was gonna do this on a whim, and now it's becoming work, and I'm like,
too many
whatever,
steps.
man. It's, yeah, it's
I'm bored.
exactly, it's too many steps.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. It's like
But
it's it's just,
it,
I don't know. I mean, I love the idea, you know, of like decentralized currency. Like I think the idea behind cryptocurrency is a very good idea. But now it's like there are like fucking millions of them out there, and some of them are like, I think there's one that's called like Cum Rocket or something. It's like,
ooh, I gotta find that one. I
what?
hadn't seen that one.
Like, I can't remember. It's like there's like a fort. Dennis Rodman has Potcoin, like you know, a weed
Uh,
cryptocurrency.
uh-huh.
Like, I mean, everybody like
We
just
should have one.
everybody has one and makes one. You know, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it's kind of like it just becomes, I don't know. I mean, like obviously I like the idea behind it, but then it's just like, okay, now they don't mean anything. Now it's just like if anybody can just like create one, then like
Well,
then
well,
how they,
I see your point. It's like in the big picture, it seems like it's just one more.
yeah.
Like it
I mean,
dilutes
now
it,
there are
but
things called fan coins. Like they're cryptocurrencies for like fans of like Manchester United. There's a fan coin for like football teams overseas.
hmm
Like I watched this video the other day where this guy, as basically a tax write off, he put like 10 grand into he also does like follow cryptocurrency and stuff, but he decided he was going to buy $10 of every single coin that's available on like Binance.
hmm
And so he basically bought like 300 different coins, and then like went back like 7 days later to see what the change was. But
hmm
that's just the fact that like you like there are thousands of them at this point.
yeah.
And at that point it's like, okay, well then you're I mean, you're just throwing money at the wall and hoping that something will take off. Like,
Well, I mean, I'd say that like they're not all obviously created equal. They're I don't know. Like some of those are just I think jokey things too. But some like have been like they're around and they become things. And again, like I don't know tons and tons about this, but like I think that what
yeah, no,
you're
like
hinting at, like
Ethereum
Ethereum,
and a
like
few
you
of
have to buy
those. Yeah.
right. Like some of those are still they're still around and they've grown over the years. and with like lots of, I mean, I'm not going to go, I don't need a hobby really. So I'm not going to like be fucking trading every week, like in and out, like buying and selling shit. I've
Right.
bought little bits here and there, and I've just like hanging on to it. Um, but so in that, all I can say is my little experiment worked
Mm-hmm.
from like 2017 to 3+ years later,
Yeah.
and I feel like okay, well that's pretty good run. I don't think it's gonna all just disappear anytime really soon. So at least the ones that are kind of there and like stick around, I'm. But my game is right now. This is where it's like I feel like it's dangerous. Like this, it could be my gambling thing because buying. I like the thought of buying a ton of like something that's super cheap for like $12 or whatever, and then
Yeah.
just hanging on to it just to see.
I
Like
mean, I
like the
remember
Dogecoin.
the
If I would have bought like a fucking, I wasn't even. I mean, this is like just like when I was just starting to kind of remember. Oh yeah, I was into that. I forgot. Um, but it's
I
like
just
that. Like
realized as we're having this conversation, apparently today is Bitcoin Pizza Day.
oh
So like in 2010,
yeah,
like this guy, like when Bitcoin first came out, he bought like how much?
like 10,000
He
or
he yeah, he purchased two Papa John's pizzas using 10,000 Bitcoin.
Papa John's.
I mean, A,
Uh,
poor choice of pizza, but also like that Bitcoin
doesn't help the
uh,
story.
in 2010 it was about $41. Now it's 3.8 billion.
Yeah.
So the guy spent $4 billion on pizzas 11 years ago in 2010.
Uh-huh. Does anybody know who this person is?
The
I
guy's
don't
name
I
is
don't think I remember this.
Laszlo Hanyecz.
Okay.
Hanyecz. Um, he was just an early adopter of Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and he had a bunch of them, and spent uh,
I think
he
Leslie's probably
spent it
doing
on
okay,
pizza.
but yeah.
Probably, I mean, but he probably looks at that and like, God damn, that's $4 billion that I would have right now. I
Yeah.
mean, shit.
Well,
Like, that's the thing, though, man. It's like there's like you were saying, there's really no reason. Like, I wish I had been aware of it that early and had like done something stupid, like put $10 into it, because that would be like a
yeah,
$1 billion now.
absolutely. I mean, obviously now it's like everybody's kind of, they're aware.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like
Exactly.
given enough time, like it's gonna fade again. People are just gonna like it's
Yeah.
just gonna be the people who are super into it, and I kind of like you, like I hate just in general, like things everyone's talking about a thing, like I'm just kind of turned off, and especially when the people are themselves are kind of annoying.
Well, it's
Um,
just when something becomes so prevalent that it's just everywhere all the time. Like that's and also, but I mean, it's the same thing that we've talked about on so many different things. It's one of those things like QAnon and like all these other things where you feel like you're in on something that nobody else is really in on,
uh,
that you're part of this like exclusive secret club.
yeah,
That's incredibly appealing. So I totally understand like you know, why it grabs the attention of people so much.
totally.
Because it is like there's this thing that, most people aren't aware of and don't really understand. But, it's
Yeah,
like,
and it's like great fantasy to have too. Just like
oh, yeah, totally.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's
absolutely.
obviously it's
It's
happened
like
already a few times
a guy at
for
work,
people.
I randomly messaged him about something and he was like, are you paying attention to the like uh, AMC stock thing? Or like it became the new GameStop. Where like it's the new stock that
Mm,
everybody is like, trying to blow up and squeeze and all of this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I don't even. It's like not only do I have to understand what this is, it's like you have to learn a whole new language that
yeah,
people speak in when they talk about this thing.
And you have to spend
And
time monitoring and the whole thing.
yeah,
I don't want to do that. I don't have to. It's not how I want to spend my time.
yeah. I mean, more power to them and shit. Like if people can find a way to like, I mean, I was all about the GameStop thing. Not only because it was cool that people were getting over on it, but mainly because they were fucking over like these like huge corporations that were losing hundreds of millions of dollars because of this. And like so there was a certain like you know Schadenfreude in there, just like enjoying watching
Yeah,
these like huge corporations get fucked. There's a certain
yeah.
appeal to that.
It
um
was funny.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know how much attention I can pay to all this stuff. But
But
have
then
you been?
again, huh,
Well, no, go
while
ahead.
watching.
I was going to change it to something else. So
Oh, I was gonna say, like, then again, it's like we've also, I think, discussed this where, or maybe it's just been me, but like thinking of, you do a thing that's, if you spent a year really paying attention to that, and that was your game for a while, and you just kind of worked it, every day you were like all over the stuff and like watching. Um, After that period, whatever period of time,
hmm.
you'd see a lot of change. Like
Oh yeah.
last year, so many things were flat. Like a lot of the things I see now that have, including Bitcoin and a lot of the more popular ones, like they were super flat last year. And for some reason, I was not paying attention. And if I had, that would have been interesting
Yeah.
to play with. But yeah, I don't know. I guess you know, it, you'd have to believe that like your effort would pay off or something,
Yeah.
or you'd have to just enjoy the process, and I wouldn't. So enough
Um.
crypto talk. What is
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Um. So have you been paying attention to all of the like the? You messaged me the other day and you're like, "Have you been paying attention to the latest space junk news?"
Yeah.
And there's apparently been a lot of like there's an article in the Telegraph in the UK that there's like basically a new report that it's like the US government is apparently taking UFOs incredibly seriously right now.
Hmm.
Um
Yes. That's the new thing.
mhm.
Just very briefly, because I am very interested in space junk because I use that as like my, uh, potential for death at any moment, sort of like trope thing. And I've said that like so many a million times, like space junk, anything could happen,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. But yeah, we just had another. It was
Was
about actual space junk that I was texting in that one.
was that the
That's
the
the part of the
Chinese rocket?
Chinese rocket.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
and yeah, and it was sliding into I mean, kind of, like skimming on the surface and slowly like sliding into our atmosphere again.
That was kind of
And they were
incredible to
tracking the
me.
fucking thing.
Like the
It
fact that they
literally it
they were
could
like,
have.
"Yeah, we have no clue
Yeah,
where this thing's going to land."
yeah, and it's one of those things like the fucking space rocks, same fucking thing, space rocks
Yeah.
and shit that we had no clue until it was. Oh, oh, did you see that? That was like so and so, miles. It was
Mhm.
between us and the moon or something, like there was one like
Yeah.
that. Um, it's just fascinating. It's like we have this huge blind spot there, and apparently we kind of don't even really care about the space junk thing because there's so much crap up there right now, and not all of it's as big as that rocket piece of the rocket or whatever, the booster. But there's shit up there that's just eventually going to come down, and the more stuff we put up there, the more that's going to happen. But it's fascinating that within a couple of days, it's like suddenly, hey, this thing's coming down. Yeah,
Yeah.
it weighs like 62 tons or something. Yeah, it's just gonna come down wherever. We don't really know. And that literally could level a fucking
Yeah.
city. It could level Portland. It would be like I would bring this up like the Tunguska was that where that in Siberia in like 1908 something came in and hit like in the middle of the Siberian forest and it fucking flat. We've all seen the photos like where it flattened trees for miles and miles in a like
Jesus.
in a circular like blast pattern. And this
Wow.
fucking thing, if it would have hit like London, it would have wiped out all of London. That was like the size thing. It's just it's and that was just like a fucking rock or something, and that could happen
Tunguska.
anytime. I I think
Tunguska. Aerial explosion that occurred near the Tunguska River in Siberia on June 30th, 1908. The blast felled an estimated 60 million trees over 2,150 square kilometers.
yeah
Local residents observed a huge fireball, almost as bright as the sun, moving across the sky.
yeah.
That's nuts.
Isn't that fucking nuts? Hey
60
hey hey.
million trees.
Yes,
That's
I mean in
insane.
a fucking instant like I feel like it's just bound to happen because
I
we're not
mean,
looking
yeah. Like it's
and they're tracking they're tracking some things sort of like that are on a cyclical, you know, loop or whatever. But um,
that is
this is the
true. I
stuff
mean,
that
because just you're right. I mean, like the shit that we're going to be blasting up there, it's like it's going to increase significantly. Like it's not going to, like this isn't something that's going to slow down.
you know,
Especially like, the more we fuck up like our resources here on this planet, the more we're going to obviously want to explore what's up there. And with
yeah,
Elon's like, yeah, now we're going to be fucking sending tourists up to the moon and shit. Like, yeah, the thought that
yeah,
like something could just veer off and come back into the atmosphere and like level an entire city potentially. Like it's
yeah,
yes, I mean I think they said that, like, yeah, I mean the earth is like 85% water. The chance, I mean, like that's just you're willing to take that chance that
right,
hopefully it'll land in an ocean and not level a city.
yeah. I think sorry, I don't want my cat to catch on fire. I think I may have a heightened awareness of it or of this or a heightened like sense of like how impending it is really
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up with like in the era of I don't know you were probably not even born yet, but when I was a little kid, I remember talking, like my mom would talk about Skylab, which was like the first big
Right. Yeah.
thing, and I remember her like at night, like she was like praying at night, like sometimes like and please like let Skylab hit basically like fall into the water, not fucking come in. And so that was like this huge
You
worry, and I
growing
remember
up in fear.
constantly.
Just
But I kind of like it is literally like on my mind, like in the back of my mind in a not in a, like a crippling way obviously but in a way that like sort of puts everything in perspective. That's why I joke about that, like, you know, I could be just gone anytime, just like there's crap flying all over the place. But I think that might have been where that came from a little bit, if we want to dissect my like psychology of baby Monstark and why I'm worried about that. But like I feel like nobody cares, nobody talks about it, nobody's worried about it. There's another thing just to like pile onto this called the Carrington event, which was apparently like a giant solar flare back in, I think it was also like the late 18, early 1900s.
1859.
Yeah.
1859.
When, and it was basically like a giant solar flare that kind of acts. I mean, today it would act like a giant EMP, from what I understand. So it
Wow.
would just like fucking like unleash, knock out shit everywhere, or like wherever whatever was facing the sun basically at the time. I think. And imagine that now. Imagine that
Yeah.
happening today when it's not just like the telegraph, that
Right.
would go down because they had
Right.
like telegraph lines and shit that were fried. But that's another thing we can do nothing about, and nobody really cares. Nobody talks about it.
Apparently, there was a
Uh,
near miss in 2012.
hmm.
There's an article on
And then it realized,
nasaspaceflight.com.
then it decided it
But
would be too obvious, so it held it
right.
in.
But yeah, there's an article about what that would do to the world today.
Oh, was I
Um,
close at all, or was I overstating it?
I'm not going to read this entire thing, but no, I
Okay.
think television signals from satellites would be majorly disrupted. Satellites would experience disruption to radio communication. Planes flying over the ocean would experience navigation errors, communication blackouts. Um, yeah, I mean, it would fuck a lot of stuff up.
Maybe it's not as bad as I imagined, but wouldn't be good.
No, it definitely wouldn't be good. Um, I mean, yeah, the idea, like, imagine being up in a plane and suddenly you have no idea where the fuck you are. Like, you can't navigate anymore.
Uh,
That would not be good.
yeah. I don't know.
um, no,
These
I
things can always be
randomly,
worse.
I was looking on Hulu and there was this, there's a new series on Hulu where they're like, they go inside, oh, son of a bitch, I just lost it. Uh, the ranch in Utah, Snake, no,
Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's like a new documentary series on Hulu where they're like they go inside of Skinwalker Ranch. Apparently, the new guy that owns Skinwalker Ranch is like this big real estate dude in Utah now. There's just he
Yeah.
owns a fuck ton of real estate,
Oh, hey
and
man. It used to be like farmers or something. Like
yeah,
they just
but now like it appears that this guy bought Skinwalker Ranch just so that he can churn out shitty documentary series about it now. Like
oh
because he just like he executive produces all of these like inside the secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. So he seems to have bought it just to exploit it. Um,
huh.
but
Whoa.
I thought that it might be interesting, like learning about this area that has so much stuff to it. But then I kind of quickly realized that this was not like a documentary series. This was basically just a cash grab because it's like a
That
Discovery
sucks.
Channel thing where, and then because I was going along with it, I watched several episodes, um, and uh, I went along with it for a while, even though it was kind of clear, okay, this is kind of corny. But then, like the main kind of character that this documentary series focused on was this scientist that they hired to come and figure out like what is really going on here, and he always makes a point to kind of like you know sprinkle a little skepticism in like every time they're talking, and then like literally this is exactly what happened. He was like they were trying to find the source of some like electromagnetic interference, and so they were like firing rockets up to get measurements of radiation at higher altitudes,
Hmm.
and like and so they kept running and they kept the equipment kept failing, and that was like the proof that there was something going on. And the guy was like, well, here's a thought. And then this is the so-called scientist that they hired who's been trying to be a skeptic up until this point. He's like, what if it's a wormhole? And at that point I just hit stop and I just stopped watching because I'm like, okay, no, this is just getting fucking ridiculous. Like,
Huh.
I would be totally into something like that if it was actually approached in a way that's not like just exploitive. That's the problem that I
Yeah.
have with all the like ghost hunting shows and
Oh,
alien
totally.
shows is like if they were actually approached like legitimately and not with like a an agenda that they are wanting, like not with a goal in mind, just to actually academically study these things, I would be into it.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, they're
like if
doing it.
they like so many
Buddy,
of the
buddy.
true crime, like the
Sorry.
there's cat
Come
disruption.
on, bro. Come on.
See, and this is why you want to watch either the stream or the YouTube, like my good friend Bex is doing right now. She's messaging me every time I smoke weed or the cat shows up.
Oh, good. Yeah,
So
somebody needs to track that.
yes, but and this is why you want to subscribe to the Monstark and Me YouTube channel that doesn't really exist yet, but will by the time
Yes.
that this gets
What
posted.
I'm sorry, what's your friend's name?
Bex
Bex. Hi, Bex.
Bumblebeanie. She is. I did a podcast with her for about a year as well. But then I moved because I'm a fucking
Good company.
traitor and a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But we had a podcast for a long time called Failing Funny, which was a lot of fun. And we've been talking about doing a podcast about the TV show Psych. Um,
I don't even
and
know
I'm
what that
rewatching
is.
it again now, Bex. So it's a good time to hop on board. I'm rewatching it yet again, um, because it's a fantastic show. um, but yeah, I would be. I mean, I'm the idea. Like, I have an incredibly hard time believing that with like, considering the size of the universe, that we are the only life in the world. That seems incredibly egocentric. Um, but Obama
Yeah.
was on some late night talk show recently, and Reggie Watts, who's an awesome musician and comedian, um, asked him about aliens, and he was like, "Yeah, we just don't know." Like Obama was just like, "Yeah, we don't know. We have no idea." So, and like,
Mhm.
it would be interesting. I do think that there's a certain poetic justice in the whole idea, though. Like if our downfall, you know, as a world comes because of something that is just totally impossible to predict, like falling space junk or something like that. There's certain poetic justice to that because we are so like, I mean, I guess we have to be egocentric to a certain extent, like
Sure.
because we have
To
to be
get
in
things done.
control of our own. Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
the idea that this could all end because of something that's just not of our own doing, is kind of,
Right.
there's a certain poetic justice to that.
Absolutely. I've always, and this is maybe going to sound callous on a level, but like I've always thought about how kind of amazing the power of nature is, just, and that includes space junk, or sorry, space rocks
Right.
and everything else. That no matter how much we have everything together, it just takes like an event to fuck it all up, or to make life in an area, like an entire region, completely different. Um, and I kind of like that there's that, like nature has that power. Not that I want this to happen, obviously,
Well, no, I mean it is.
but
I've always thought
it
that
is
it's
kind
kind
of
of a.
poetic.
It's like the 12
That like,
Monkeys movie, where it's like,
uh,
as silly as that is, I've always loved that movie, but because
it's
there's
great.
you do visit that parallel universe in which like this disease has taken over, and nature has started uh, to creep its way back into civilization, and you also see in places like abandoned buildings in Detroit and abandoned cities all over the world where like there are these huge man-made structures that nature has just completely overgrown. Like
I
there's a
think that's
beauty
part
to
of it for
that.
me because that's so beautiful to me when that happens.
Yeah, it's
Because
like
it doesn't take very long, and it takes over.
it's like a nuclear reactor in Russia. I'm blanking on the fucking name of it.
Chernobyl.
Yeah, it's like Chernobyl, where now you see like how everything's become overgrown and all of those buildings. It's like just
Mm-hmm.
it's nature's reclaimed that space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's not even very long. This is why I kind of will give credence to the
Mm-hmm.
idea that like some ancient civilizations were maybe around and could have just melted away again.
Mm-hmm.
Because this one could.
Oh yeah, totally.
Um,
I have always kind of like thought that and I mean, it's a it's a ridiculous idea because the reality is if something did happen, I would probably panic for quite a while. But I've always thought it's kind of a romantic thought that like, we will potentially all at some point have to kind of collectively go back to square one
yeah, yeah,
and figure this whole civilization thing out again.
yeah.
Like there is something that's kind of just like romantic about that thought
Well,
where
and
it's like, okay, now how do we like exist in this world now where we all have to like figure this whole thing out again.
yeah, I mean, it'll for a lot of people be short and brutish, as they say,
Hmm.
but
I mean,
like
it'll be
also kind of beautiful.
terrible.
But I feel like it's just always around the corner. Like it's just we've done okay so far that like we're holding things together and we
Right.
have enough. I mean, not even get into like the misuse of like resources and
Right. I mean, we've
all
made
that.
an
We're
incredible amount of
pissing so
mistakes,
much
but we
yeah, we're
haven't
fucking it up in a lot of ways, but
burned the world down yet. I mean, it's
not yet.
always like you said, it's always right around the corner, but we've managed to avoid it for a long time.
Yeah.
My like the one of my favorite like Douglas Adams has always been my favorite author ever since I was a kid, and one of my favorite bits in one of his books is um, Ford prefect, and they, he manages to hitch a ride. Him and Ford prefect and Arthur Dent, who I almost named one of my cats. Ford and Zaphod, that's where their names came from, as these books. But they hitch a ride on a spaceship that was uh, it was sending a whole bunch of people from a planet which they had essentially like just you know kind of run dry as far as resources go. They were sending him on a scouting mission to this new planet that they were all going to rehabitate and take over this new planet. What quickly becomes apparent though is these weren't people that they were sending there to uh, they told them you're going to land and you're going to set all these things up for us and we're all going to come once you've kind of get things going there. But it quickly becomes apparent that what these people had actually done was just flown every useless person that served no purpose off planet to get rid of them, because they're all like they're in marketing, they're like hairdressers, telephone sanitizers. They're all people that just have ridiculous jobs, and they've gotten rid of them all. And they're on this new planet trying to figure out how to get everything running. And they've decided to, since there's so many leaves, there's so many trees on this new planet, they've adopted the leaf as the new currency, and then immediately all become filthy rich. So it's just like I love it because it's such a perfect example of what would actually happen on this planet if we did have to start over. It's like, what are we going to use as money? It's like, well, all this kind of stuff. They're
Yeah.
like, let's just use, I don't know, rocks because I have a ton of them. And like, I'm really rich now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what
Totally.
we would do because we're fucking children.
And gingers are the chosen ones that
Exactly.
shall rule forevermore.
Bearded overweight gingers,
Especially
we
the
are your
bearded
kings.
ginger. I mean, if you're writing the rules, you gotta like
Exactly. You
juice
got
it
to
a little
stack
bit
the
for.
deck.
Yeah, totally. Um, yeah, I kind of don't want to be around for any like anything like that.
I mean,
I don't trust
it
that like modern humans really
no,
can
no.
navigate that in a, especially
I
when
mean,
everybody's
we
idea of like how things are supposed to run are just like fucking fantasy. And I mean, I'm more talking about like in this country, but I don't know.
yeah, I mean, and also like I mean, the size of the country would immediately become very apparent. Like we kind of I think
Yeah.
we've lost the sense of how huge and vast this country really is, and we would quickly like cuz nobody thinks like we always say like, think local. Nobody fucking does. Like it's a great thought, but very few people actually do. Like I don't think I know many people that know their neighbors. I mean, so like you would immediately be surrounded by strangers, which would be weird for people to get used to. Like we're so isolated and all of our social groups now are online or, texts on your phone. Like you would immediately be surrounded by people that you don't know because
Yeah,
nobody
it's
goes and
kind of
talks to the people in their neighborhoods anymore.
like these are the new people that you basically entrusting with
Like this
your
is now your new
life,
tribe essentially,
right?
just because they're
Yeah,
close. So it
yeah.
would be like everybody would immediately be surrounded by strangers and have to like navigate because it's I don't know. It would be very weird and very
What?
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and what's I think what's more just disturbing because I have thought about this well enough, but like the having that happen and then having to deal with like everyone dealing with all of us who are remote from people we care about, just immediately not being able to contact them or reliably to go see them, like I could escape. I could try to drive down to California to see family. I could probably make it to my sister's in Washington. But to like
But the
drive down to
navigation in your
California.
car doesn't work. So how are you getting there?
Oh no, no, it's good. Yeah, I'd be more worried about like bandits on the roads, like on the freeway.
That's true.
But
Yeah. No,
like
you. I
technically, I
trust
could
that you
drive.
would actually be able to figure it out. I don't think I would, but
Well, but like to drive down to say if I want to go, that was kind of my like again like my weird in the back of my mind plan. If anything, like if shit went down, I would just find a way to get to Central Valley of California where family is, and there are people there that have resources and
yeah, can survive
and
off of
like
almonds.
people who hunt, family and friends of family, like they're hunters. They like, I mean, that's like a place, that's like a safe,
Yeah,
sort of place.
I think I would
But
immediately follow you and
you're
trust that you and your family could keep me from dying.
right. No, I would say just that's it. This would be the case where you would just have to go. Or, I mean, you wouldn't know how to get there. But
No,
when I was in California, I that was like kind of my backup. But like here though, I don't know. I mean, I don't have that kind of except for my sister. Anyway, but point was, imagine that just overnight or like in the middle of the day, like everything is just blinks out, and then you have all this, longing to go to like the people that you care about, or in some cases, like loved ones or very people that are out of town, or you know, and you may not ever get to see them again
yeah.
because shit's like all
I mean, it
hell's
makes you
breaking
think
loose,
like
and you can't travel
and the
and you
funny
can't
thing
communicate.
is that was the world a generation or two ago. That was kind of the reality, like not that long ago. That's how people lived their lives. It's like
Mhm.
your family was generally around you. Like people didn't like up and go to the other side of the country that
Oh,
often, and if you did, it took a really long time to get there. But that
yeah,
was the
yeah, that's a
reality
good
not
point.
that long ago. But now we would be like, how the fuck did those people do it?
Right. Well,
For podcast listeners, you are now missing out on cats grooming humans.
yes. Purple kitty, and one of the cutest cats ever.
Yeah, indeed.
Gotta say.
Very photogenic.
Yeah. Um. Hi. It's weird that like I'll watch a thing that's set in like even like the 70s or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Or just imagine the world then, and it was civilization, but it's like you're gonna drive cross country through like lots of dead areas and places where maybe you don't know where you can find a phone, or you just hope that you have a map or something to get out of the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of creepy because we're used to this, you know.
I've been noticing more and more and just kind of realizing how funny it is nowadays. Like how there's still kind of the only
Cat butt.
place you ever see like the only place you ever see people actually like visiting each other is like on television. Like on TV, it's incredibly common still for somebody to like randomly knock on your front door because they want to come talk to you instead of just like texting or calling. Like it's the
Yeah,
only place that that happens. Like
right.
when is the last time you had an unsolicited visitor? Like that came to actually visit you.
So, it's been
It's been well,
no,
every
God
time I
damn.
hear those two words, and
Yeah, me
I
too.
always need to go to bare naked ladies.
Um, Thanks for that. Well, okay. Well, here the question is like, is it the last one that I had, or the last one that I actually opened the door to, or
Well,
I don't.
like
I
I'm
actually
not talking
can't
about
even
like
remember.
a solicitor, obviously, like somebody who that came to visit you, but just randomly showed up at your door. Like for I can remember the last time it happened is we have a really an old friend of the family that lives here in uh, Santa Rosa. He's unfortunately had a lot of health problems, so I haven't seen him in a very long time. But he was like, he had gone to the YMCA to do like his exercises, and on the way back to his house, he randomly came by and knocked on the door, and come say hi
Mhm.
and visit for a little bit. But I mean, like that was probably 7 or 8 years ago, and before
Yeah,
that, it's like I can't even remember when the last time that happened there was. And we've had like there's a neighbor who has like a mandarin tree and every once in a while she'll like leave some fruit on our porch and she'll like knock on the door and just let us know, hey, I left this for you. But it was just kind
mhm,
of like it just, hey, FYI, I put this here. There wasn't like, hey, you want to hang out and talk and like chat.
yeah,
Like that does just doesn't happen now. But it used to
yeah,
be a pretty regular thing. Like, when the only
yeah.
thing that people had were landlines, you'd
Well,
pop over and say hi to your neighbor or something.
right. It's even become like with phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you don't. I don't know. It's almost like an affront, or it's not an affront,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, what the hell is this? Why is
Like,
somebody
yeah,
calling me
why?
randomly like this?
Yeah.
Because there's like this weird etiquette thing, now. Like everybody's sensitive to, which is hilarious because they're all on fucking social media, and that's like this shit show of noise, garbage constantly. But yeah, I mean, in a way, like I appreciate it because that was always how I tailored my life anyway. Please
Yeah.
call first if you're gonna come by.
Right.
Just like
Yeah.
don't fucking show up and expect me to be. Not that I'm a troll jerk or something, but I just like I don't know. Like I like to know
I
what's
mean, yeah,
happening. I care.
nowadays it would be considered like a huge breach of like social etiquette.
Yes. You know what? You're making me want to actually fight back, push back against this. and just like set up the sort of the expectation that this could happen amongst like maybe like a friend's circle or something. I don't know. I don't know if it would work, but
It just seems like the reason I think that it is such a huge affront now is because it's only because our our ways of communicating have become so socially detached. You know, it's like now we do communicate only through texting or Facebook messages or whatever. I mean, you would think that like having friends come and like randomly pop up would be like this awesome, like, oh shit, that's awesome, hey, you're here. But because of like the way that we live our not lives now, the reality is like, why are you here? What are you doing? Why are you just randomly showing up? But like I remember in
yeah,
college, you know, I mean, like, when did you ever live in dorms ever?
I didn't go to that kind of college. I didn't have that
Yeah,
kind of college experience.
I mean, like back then it was like actually really cool. Like if I
Mm,
had, you know, friends that lived in different dorms, like you know, just come by the dorm and say what's up. You know, that was always like really fun to have like just a friend randomly show up, or you know,
yeah,
like you'd arrange to like go to like the, you know, the commons, like to
yeah.
eat dinner together or something like that. Like
Y-
that kind of spontaneous social interaction was actually probably the best part of going to college. And now the idea of
mhm.
spontaneous social interaction is like cancer. It's like, why would I just randomly want to like see somebody, like just randomly pop up at my house? No,
Uh-huh.
I have shit to do. Like I have a schedule and you're interrupting it. It's like, no, that's,
I wonder why we're so like. Is it a comfort level like we,
I feel like
or
we've
is it really
become a
just like we're
lot
too? I don't.
less. And I feel like it has kind of become just like we're so comfortable kind of stewing in our own shit, you know, just kind of like we're so comfortable in our own patterns that we have.
Uh-huh.
We're so comfortable, you know,
Yeah.
sitting in front of the TV all day that the thought of somebody interrupting our comfort is what's kind of like unwelcome now. You're
Yeah.
interrupting me, and you know, I now have to pay attention to somebody who is not myself. You know,
Right.
I feel like it's
Like can't you see I've got like a thing going here,
yeah. Can't you see that I'm like,
which is
you
watching
know,
TV all day or something?
exactly. You know, it's like it's not, you know, it's just because we've desensitized ourselves to, you know, to the need for social interaction. Like
Or
social
we're overly
interaction,
sensitive to it, maybe
right?
because we
Yeah.
sheltered ourselves.
Well, just because it's like, you
Maybe
know,
speaking for myself,
we
maybe.
well, I think we've become so used to the idea of being social as not, you know, there's
Oh,
having a social life now doesn't actually mean that you go out and like see people that often. You know, it's like,
yeah.
you know, we have our D&D thing. It's like I play video games with people online. It's like I'm not seeing those people because they don't live in this area, but it's like that's being social. You're connecting and talking to people. But the reality is like I don't like I don't go out with anybody who's not my wife. Like I mean, it sounds incredibly sad, but it is true. Like, I don't actually have any friends here. You know, it's like there's not many people in this area that I could just randomly call up and be like, hey, you want to, you know, go get coffee? You want to go get lunch somewhere? Like, that would be met with that would like me asking somebody that would be like me showing up at their house unannounced. They would be like, what, why? like no, we're not that kind of friends, we don't do that, you know, like
Yeah.
that's kind of my reality here.
You're making me feel
It's
because
pretty miserable.
well, no, I mean, that's not great, but I mean, I'll just yeah, that sounds terrible. But I'm just you're making me think of I mean, just not to have the option, but you're making me realize that like I've got, at least a handful of just awesome people. I haven't like many of them I haven't seen obviously for quite some time because things were weird for about a year, whatever. But even having the chance, like I'm not the greatest always at like making myself available or feeling like, you know, it's like I give myself a pass to not be social. And I've tried, and in fact, like right before all this bullshit happened, making everybody go underground, like I had kind of had plans to do that. Like I need to start scheduling times to make sure that it's like our D&D thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
podcasting's different because we just like we haven't like set a schedule really yet, but
we've
for like the
tried.
D&D thing, we've got a group of people that show up every week
Mm-hmm.
and it happens.
Yeah.
It's like that worked for me. That's the only way that worked, I think. And um and like so I was trying to work around that, and I have like I'm not always the greatest at just randomly like, sure, I'm ready to go. Let's go. What
Mm-hmm.
do you want to do?
Yeah.
Because I usually have like a thing. It's not like watching TV, but like I've got like set a pattern. Like I've got a thing planned out for the night if I haven't like set anything else up.
Yeah.
And it's in some ways that's probably incredibly, you know, snowflakey or something because why wouldn't I just sure, yeah, I'll go hang out. I love hanging out with you. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I'm terrible at saying yes sometimes to that stuff. And I feel bad now like fuck, man. I have the chances to do that here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even that good at doing that.
Well, I mean,
So,
it's a weird trend. Like it was so. I think that was one of the nice things about college is that the majority of people that were there were not from the area, and you're all kind of like stuck together in this one area, and the only people that most of are each other. So there are that's I think why like it's so much easier to socialize and stuff like that. I wonder like
mhm.
I'm curious how that experience has changed in the 25 years since I was there. It's like I wonder now it's like
Everybody stays in their little holes
probably, man.
and
Like
just
I imagine
heck,
there's a lot
probably.
less just random like socialization then. I mean, there wasn't like, you know, I didn't have like I didn't text message anybody in when I was in college. Like I had, like chat clients on my computer back then. That was kind of the only way and that I would communicate with people. But
Yeah.
then it was always like,
God, I remember that.
Nick and I had the exact same pattern almost every single day there because we had dinner together probably almost every single day that I was in college there, and we had the same like message back and forth to each other almost every time we were like, it was like, dinner, sure, let's shall. It was like this random thing that we did every single time, and then we would like meet up and go eat dinner. But I mean, there
Mhm.
was like I was I squandered my college experience like hugely, but it's like nowadays I feel like that's I had this thought randomly a while ago, which is like I think I was listening to a podcast or something and they were talking about, the value of college now for kids and like how important it really is that somebody have that experience. I feel like,
Mhm.
if I had to have that conversation with like somebody who is considering going to college, I'd be like, yeah, just get the right thing out of it. It's like I don't know a single person with the I know one person of everybody that I went to college with who I'm still in contact with who is doing anything even remotely like what they went to college for. And so I
Mhm.
think like yeah, just enjoy it and don't stress it. Just like
Yeah.
get the right things out of it, which is like you know, some self discipline and the ability to do work, because that was the one thing that I missed completely. Is I never learned how to like manage time and get shit done, but also just fucking have fun and like meet people and make friends.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing that fucking matters.
It's, I mean, it's kind of
I've
like
never
life
been asked
itself.
once to prove that I went to college. You know, it's like I
Uh,
don't think like I put on my resume the education like I don't think I don't there's probably never been somebody who actually checked up on that.
yeah.
And like
I hope you upped it every time like that happened. You just tested it every a little bit
yeah,
further.
just like eventually just like yeah, I went to Harvard.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's like why do you have and
But
I
this is
realized eventually that like I had three different colleges listed and I wound up
yeah.
eventually realizing that that was probably not doing me any favors than just choosing one and putting it
Right.
on there.
Yeah, right.
It's like, why the fuck did you
Boy,
go to
this
three
guy's
different
really flighty.
colleges? It's because I got kicked
Yeah.
out of like one of
Guy really
them,
jumps around.
and then
Yeah, it almost like opened it up for like I'm surprised they weren't asking you this story.
yeah,
What is what happened there?
yeah. It was like I think at one point it
Did,
had like Reed College, the Santa Rosa Junior College, and then Portland State, and then
hmm,
eventually I just like put Portland State on it because that's where I graduated from. I was like,
there you go.
Reed, people know Reed. And then I realized, though, that if I put that on there along with Portland State, and I think this maybe happened once and is why I removed it, is somebody did ask, like, so what happened at Reed? I'm like, oh, I failed out twice.
Uh, but to your point about what you said about like getting something out of getting the important stuff out of college, like
Yeah.
that's the part that I feel because the rest of it and it's like whatever. But I feel like that's the part that because I didn't have that experience. You know, I probably missed some of that. But then again, in some ways, like I've approached life in at certain times where it's just like to get the experience out of it, kind of. I guess it's more about like less results based and just more like I'm gonna I'm just gonna go experience things and hit things with my hand when I'm talking and um I kind of feel like I've kind of settled on that. Like I think that's just like why we're even here on the planet. Like that's lacking any other better answer.
Yeah.
So if like
So
you had the college experience and didn't in that finite amount of time, uh, do you do you feel like you're like sort of craving that now? Like you're like I need
there's
to
a part of me that like
I'm looking for that.
wishes, well, like yes and no. Like I have a lot of mixed feelings about like that whole experience because I went to Reed College in Portland for like 2.5 years, and the 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 way that it all just shook out is like my grandmother got really sick within the first month that I was there and wound up dying really quickly thereafter, and so it was like that whole first year like everything in my life changed so drastically so fast
Yeah.
that that first year was basically a wash. And then because I failed a class that year, I got denied um, admittance for one semester after that. So I went to the
Mm.
junior college here, and then I went back. And that year, I actually did pretty well. And then my junior year, it was like I had to basically declare a major. And because of all of the changes that had kind of happened in my life and how, my outlook on life changed so much over that time, I wanted to like study philosophy because it was what I got interested in and how people change and the ways that people think and like I was so interested in how people's perceptions and, you know, belief systems can change over time, because I was observing that happening with me and I wanted to study kind of why that happens. But my biggest regret is that I allowed my grandfather to talk me out of that, because he was like, well, what are you going to do with a philosophy degree? Now, in
Right.
retrospect, it's like, well, I have my degree and it has informed absolutely nothing about my life. And so the idea that people are having to make, these big decisions about, what am I going to study and what I'm going to major in at a point in their life where they're not even really aware of what it is they're actually interested in doing with their lives is just fucking stupid. Like, if
Yeah.
if people have the chance to get some actual like life under their belts, and then, maybe like in their early 20s or something, um they have the opportunity, like the idea that they have to go to college right after high school and that there's nothing in between, like that's, I think, what I wish, like, I think back as like, what if I had the opportunity to do that all over again, but once I had some sort of an idea of what it was I want to do with my life and what I'm interested in, and then go to school to study that. Like, I think it would be so much more rewarding for people, because I mean, it's like, unless you're really fortunate and know what you want to do at a young age and then can pursue that, great. But most people aren't. Most people have no idea. And that's the thing, that it's like, that kind of like, I think about that every once in a while. It's like, what if I had the opportunity to actually like know what the hell I was interested in and then choose to study that? Because it's what I wound up doing. I mean, when I went to Portland State, it was so much more affordable that I just took classes that I was interested in for a few years. And eventually, like after I'd been doing that for a while, I just went to somebody and said, okay, here are all the credits I have. What can I graduate with? What degree can I get? And they're like, liberal arts. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm out. I'm done. It's like,
Yeah.
it was, and it has nothing to do. It's like, yeah, I got a degree, but it's like,
Hmm.
it's in basically nothing.
I wonder if maybe it's because I've uh like I've navigated life without having that kind of thing, and I know plenty of people who have, and I don't know, like I sometimes just wonder how necessary it is.
I don't think it is at
I
all. I mean, it's
I,
like,
I don't, because it seems to be it's been a default for a long time, and I feel that that's probably changing. I think people are
I get the
kind of saying that,
feeling
but
that, well, I think that, like, obviously, if you went to a doctor and they didn't go to college, you would probably be like,
well,
But I feel that
good point.
I feel like there are certain, like, if there are certain things that you want to do with your life, like, uh, you want to be an engineer, you want to be an architect, you want to be a doctor. It's like, if there are certain things that, like, something that is going to require a whole lot of study, then it's probably a good idea for you to like get a good education on that. But
For everyone
for, yeah, I don't think
that you're doing that.
yeah, I don't think it's something that every single person needs to do. And then,
No.
if you decide eventually in your life that that is something that you want to do, then go get the education for it.
Well,
But it's
and
like,
at that point, you'll be really just you'll be
exactly.
into it.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I think is so fucked up with the way this happens now, is like, it's, especially with so many like prerequisite things. It's like, uh why do you have to like take college level science if you have no interest in science? It's just, there are certain
Right.
prerequisites that these colleges have. And if you happen not to give a shit about that stuff, then why waste the time? and the
Right.
money to like.
Well, I don't know if this is the thing that happens, but like I've always thought because I don't spend much time thinking about education, but I always think, well, why don't we just like we identify what a kid naturally does, define kid however you like, but identify, like not just like, well, how are they going to fit into the world and like how are they going to make money in the ways that we can come up with, or how are they going to like get a job in ways that we imagine they could, or based on the region or whatever. Like forgetting all that stuff, just like um look at the kid. Like, what are they excelling at? What would they naturally be doing in their,
Hmm.
like as a hobby? What do they like to do? And then find like let that be the beginning of the path instead of just like, well, you have to, think rationally about. It's like that's why fucking like people give up on doing creative work, especially where we have to monetize everything in this culture. It's like not supported. So it seems like and it feels like a bad choice, and everybody will tell you that it's like a bad choice to try to like, make art for a living or in some
Right.
way, unless you get hooked into. Again, it's unfortunate. Like industry stuff is great, but like that seems to be. It's like you have to run under somebody's umbrella to be safe and to live that way.
But here's the thing
And
that's interesting,
it,
like, with art specifically, like, if if you are a child that's inclined to art and there were schools that you could go to pursue that, you're not only getting the education in that, you're also socializing with people that are interested in those same things. So you're then also building a network of people that are in that world, and you're more likely to be successful in that space when you are surrounded by people who are also doing it, because you have the opportunity to, like, you know give each
well,
other opportunities there.
absolutely. Every cool thing I've ever done, it was just because I met people doing, and I'm talking creative stuff, like because I've
Right,
met
right.
people doing like shows and things, or like in a creative circle. So yeah, it's absolutely right. Like that's really valuable, and that'll last and grow in a lot of cases the rest of your
Yeah,
life.
yeah. And so, I
Um,
mean, the I think just the idea of the idea, the idea that we're trying to educate people and give them like a foundation in basically everything under the sun. I mean, I think that there's a certain uh, that's good because everybody should have like a base set of skills, but the idea that like that's the way that we're going to educate everybody just
yeah.
doesn't make sense. The idea is that
It
like colleges that specialize in like just one thing are so hard to find and hard to get into. That like you want to go to college to be an artist, but there are only like a handful of them, and you have to be accepted to them, like that just makes it harder for people, and makes them more likely to give up on that.
yeah. Right. And the focus on that everything versus like what you would naturally do. It's just like I think we're losing people who would excel in
Right,
certain things that way
right.
because they have to like smash themselves into some other shape to do something else. And there's no support because everybody's telling them, "Don't worry about that. Sure,
Yeah,
that's a thing you're great at. You should
right.
like figure out a." And I mean, I just feel like it's a huge head start if you just this is like I've been on this the idea of kind of going with whatever feels the most natural for you, like whatever, like I'm talking more like creative works instead of trying to like think about it, just like what should I do, just like what do I want to do, and then follow that. And That's always going to be genuine. People will always see that that's real because that's, you know, you're excited about it. It's what you'd be doing no matter what anyway. And it's like again, like to get things done and like to have enough energy to do these things, for any length of time, like that's how it has to be. You have to like just self-generate that if you want to keep making stuff, Like I don't if I was doing commissions of like, you know, Marvel characters or some shit that I don't know anything about, I don't really care about. Uh if I had to do that all the time and that was my art,
Right.
I'd be so slow and I would be so unsatisfied and I'd rather make much less doing things and know that it's all just, it's just so much easier that way. That's why I feel like I get bogged down sometimes in commissions where it's very specific
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it takes longer time. So I feel like I've tested that, for myself. But
Yeah,
like
it's like
just imagine kids like giving them the biggest just like head start to do the thing that maybe they were maybe not going to say born to do, but the the thing
I
they
feel like yeah,
probably should
that's
be
where
doing.
burnout comes. I mean, it's like my friend Bex, like her and I, had this like blog that was kind of like cannabis centric for a long time. And it actually, she got into it early enough where, you know, it actually did like fairly well. Like, it got a decent amount of readership, a decent amount of traffic. People contacted her every so often to like, you know, do you want to try this product and write about it? And, you know, it got to the point, I think, it got me a lot quicker than it hit her, which is like eventually it becomes this thing that you kind of need to keep feeding. And what initially was something you created because you were legitimately interested in became this other thing that needed like constant upkeep in order to be successful.
Yeah.
And it's like eventually it just becomes like a chore more than something that you're legitimately like interested in and enjoy doing, and like it's hard to find. I've done the same thing where I've done like blogs, on sneakers like a long time ago, and it was like, it may have been something that I had something to say about for a while, but then you kind of realize that if you want it to like, that you just have to like, it becomes like another job instead of, and that's when you think about, well, if I had if I had, studied something that I actually legitimately like and am legitimately interested in and was able to make a living doing that one thing, then you wouldn't be constantly having to find other ways to like bring fulfillment into your life,
Right. Yeah, you
you
said
know?
that before. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's
that right. It's just like it cures it before it even
yeah.
starts.
Yeah, it's like you can actually, cuz that's, the whole that was, kind of one of the whole reasons that was like, I think probably in the pitch when I started talking to you about this podcast is like,
Uh,
how do you find things that like, how do you find fulfillment in your life? It's like, how do
right.
you pursue things that, I think it's just like, people, I think it's probably safe to say that like anybody that you or I look up to as far as like what, people who do stuff that we find really inspiring and cool. Chances are it was something that they just had a fire inside of them that they wanted to do and found a way to do it. I don't think, we're
Yeah.
like nobody just fell into it and just like I happened to just kind of like do this thing and it I was a total badass at it and it just stumbled into it. I don't know really how. And it was something that they probably really had to pursue and
Yeah.
were good at. It's like writers or you know comedians or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
they had to throw themselves into it. I was talking to Bex about this just the other day when you know when you hear about people that were like they there was something they really wanted to do and they wanted to be good at it and they forced themselves to they basically removed their safety net in some way, and they were and they basically it was like I'm going to have to be successful at this because I don't have much of a choice otherwise. I don't have anything to really fall back on. Um, have you heard about? Have you ever heard of Code Miko?
All that.
So I was reading this story. It's a Twitch streamer, but it's a completely computer generated Twitch streamer.
Is it Miko?
Yes.
I've heard of that.
So it's this thing I just
Hmm.
became aware of, like I think about a week or two ago. Um, and at the beginning of the pandemic, there was this woman in LA that worked in animation. And at the beginning of the pandemic, she lost her job. And she had always kind of been interested in streaming and Twitch and all of these things. And she came up with this idea of creating like a fully computer generated character called Miko, who her backstory is that she's an NPC in a video game, but she really wants to star in a big AAA video game, but she's never really been big enough to do it. So she created this whole backstory for this character, and then took all of her savings and bought a like one of those suits that you wear when you're animating, like a motion capture
Like a
suit.
mocaps, yeah.
Yeah. And she
Hmm.
like developed this whole like she's a coder. She works in animation, so it's what she does. And so she created this whole like backdrop and uh streams wearing a mocap suit. And so there's this computer generated character who does everything that this the streamer does. She also streams as herself, like she calls herself the technician. But this, she created like just this crazy, like almost virtual talk show um, character, and she told herself basically she was going to dump her savings into it, and that would force her to have to find a way to be successful at it. And she
Hmm.
is wound up now, like hugely successful and has a huge following and everything. But the idea of it was actually kind of like really cool, and she pulled it off. But she kind of told
Hmm.
herself she was going to have to. She didn't want to give herself an out, and I feel like that's how most people like who wind up successful that way. You have to approach it with a huge amount of discipline and be like really committed to it.
Yeah. I agree. Like that, like I mean, I would even take that to maybe not necessarily you're gonna starve or something, or
Right, right,
you're gonna lose all your savings or something like that. But even just saying this is gonna happen, like this has to happen. I'm
right.
making this happen, and that's it. I mean, it hooks into a lot about how I've been thinking lately. Just like this is gonna happen. It's not even like I can't necessarily describe it to anybody. I can't even like it's just the whole thing, just knowing that it's gonna happen, and
I
then
had I had
like
this
there's no backing out.
yeah. I had this conversation with my friend Graham, who's a stand-up comic, and now he has this YouTube show called The Political Vigilante. But I interviewed him on a podcast like 7 or 8 years ago, and uh, I kind of asked him that question where it was like, he he started doing stand up in college and basically has never worked since then. Like he's only been a stand up comedian since college. Like he basically, I think he's had, one job, which is like a dishwasher or something like that, and then stand up comedian. And so his resume is basically like the only thing that he's ever done has been a stand up comic. And I basically asked him, I said, so in many ways, it's like this, you've kind of always had to be successful at this one thing because, like, there's not, you've never really had anything to fall back on. And he was like, well, now that you've scared the shit out of me, yes, that actually is correct. But it's like, he's his basically, I mean, like he's older than I am. He's been doing this for 25, 30 years now. It's the only thing that he's ever
That's
done.
great.
And
Yeah.
it's great, but it's also like he kind of has to be successful at it, because it's like if he was suddenly to not have this,
Mm-hmm.
he has like, this is the only thing he's ever done. And so it's,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you would work in entertainment in some other way probably, but it's like, it's awesome and also kind of terrifying, I feel, at the same time. It's like
Yeah.
you have to be successful at it. You have to continue working at it forever. It's like you can never really be comfortable unless somehow you just get so incredibly successful that you can just stop at any moment and not have to worry about it. But
Yeah.
most people,
And
like,
I'm
they don't have that luxury.
right. I'm sure. I mean, I'm not sure, but I would imagine, a lot of people's, in the case of a lot of people, or even his, that like you kind of know, like that. This is the template I'm working with. Is like I'm just gonna work for a long, long time. I'm just gonna keep working until I just like
Mm-hmm.
fall over because I'm not gonna like plan on hitting it,
Right.
hitting some huge thing, and then it's just gonna be like kind of steady, which
And that's the thing,
that works too.
if you're also passionate about it, even if you do hit that one like huge thing, it's like, well, it's not as if you're going to stop because this is what you enjoy
Right.
doing.
Well, and
It's like,
that's a you know I'm sorry, cut you off.
no, I was
Uh,
running out of steam anyway.
Never admit that. I tell you in all the meetings, don't admit that. We're on YouTube now. God damn it.
Ah!
Um, I think I don't know, but my point. Oh, geez, I was just gonna. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's another. I think that's another reason to like just do what comes the most naturally. Then
Right.
you won't get known for something that you've done that you don't really care that much about, even though this happens. Like one of your lesser ideas becomes
Right. Right.
popular or whatever. But um, and in fact, I think a lot of visual artists feel that like you're just like you like that, like that's the one that everybody wants to buy.
Right.
But yeah, like you don't want to get trapped in like some, oh great, like I'm gonna be known for this thing that just like I kind of, part of me just kind of hates, and I don't want to. I had the best. Actually, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but the best quote that like has always kind of kept me or made me feel like, well, okay, I'll just say it. So I when I did the comic shows, there was one comic book artist. He was an artist writer. He always did his own stuff. And he had a very particular style. Like I found him in the 90s and he was doing these awesome books. But at that time it was Metropole. That was like the one that was big, and it was like this really. He has a very distinct art style, and his name is Ted McKeever. And so I like saw him at a show once, and I was like, holy shit, I love that guy. I gotta go talk, and he was super nice, and like we traded. Like he actually like gave me a bunch of books and he signed them and stuff, and he's like, hey, yeah. I'm taking off, but I'll see you. And so after that, because that was like this show was nothing was going on, so we had time to like go back and forth to the booth and stuff and talk and share stuff. Um, so I'd see him once in a while at other shows, and I'd go up and talk, and like he wasn't like bullshitting. He'd remember that, and we'd like start talking about random stuff, and I just like I don't know. Anytime there's a person who I think their work is really kind of weird and maybe um uh like underexposed. Like I mean he's big enough, but like I feel like he's just it's fucking awesome. The art style is amazing, and the stories were weird. Like I always feel like I need to go up and bands too. Like I need to go express that to them because I'm like your stuff is super inspiring, and it's so anyway. I would do that, but we were talking one time, and he said something he because we were talking about like doing work and like trying to do new things, and I was like telling him some things I wanted to try doing, and he's like, "Yeah, you know, don't ever be the don't ever be the green girl." And what that meant was like the people that you see that show up at conventions, like for example, the woman who played the green girl or whatever on Star Trek, just like showing up
Gotcha.
to every con as that one thing that they did. Uh, I'm sure for not everybody it's the one thing, but like that's the thing that they're known for, and they just keep writing it, you know. And he's like, "Yeah, you don't want to be the green girl or whatever he put it." It's like, fuck, yeah, yeah. That's like my fear is like I don't want to be the just like one thing that was like years and years ago that I kind of liked back then, and now I don't even think
Right,
about.
right,
But that's all people know me for. I'm sure in some ways people, whatever art they bought at the time was like my essence was like that, right? To them.
right, right,
Now wherever I'm going now is like some completely removed from any of that stuff, and um, I don't know. Like I just I I like not that I want to blow up everything I've ever done, but I really like that because there is like some kind of weird fear in me that just like I don't want to get stuck on one thing, like the old like trope of the football player in high school. Like I don't want to be that person. Just like coasting on an old thing forever.
right. Yeah, you don't
And
want to
like
be you don't want to be the band playing state fairs every single year, playing that one song that got really popular in like 1991, you know.
yeah, I mean if you have your choice, I'm sure. But you know what though? Some people only have one thing in them. Or they have one, the album, or they have
Right. Well, I feel like,
the story.
the guy that always pops into my mind is Sir Mix-a-Lot, right? And actually, I mean, we haven't talked since Shock G of Digital Underground died. And
Right.
that's really kind of like that's exactly what happened to them is like they got incredibly popular for one thing. And even though they were hugely like versatile and like had amazing albums and an amazing style, everybody wanted them to be that one thing. Like with Sir Mix-a-Lot, it was like he like people consider him a one hit wonder because of like Baby Got Back, but it was like I liked him before that hit, and then it was like as soon as that hit, that became who he was after that. That's what he was known as, no matter what he did after that. And that's kind of what happened to Digital Underground with the Humpty Dance. Is like everybody wanted everything to be Humpty Hump all the time, and that's not at all what Digital Underground was. And like, yeah, it's not only do you not want to be that one person that's only known for one thing, it's like, unfortunately, the reality is sometimes that's just what people want of you. They just want you to be that one thing.
Right.
And like,
Well, that's true too. Well, that maybe that's what I meant by some people just have the one thing. Like they don't just have the one thing, but there's one thing that connects over everything else, no matter, you know, how simple or anything else it is.
mhm.
There's sometimes just a thing that connects.
Like Sir
Uh,
Mix-a-Lot became this guy. Like I loved him because of the song Posse on Broadway, but it was suddenly like
yeah.
he had that song about butts, And then I always like
Hmm.
to imagine what happened to his crowds after that. Because I think it went from like
Right.
people that actually liked hip hop to drunk white
Oh, to
ladies, like as
right
far as the eye could see.
to like yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was like his concerts probably just became like massive bachelorette parties. Just the most insufferable people on the planet that just want to hear him
Yeah.
play the song about butts for 90 minutes and not hear anything else.
Yep. So they can all
Like,
like sort of rap along, but not really knowing.
right.
Yeah.
It's just,
I'm sure that
and
was.
I read a lot like of interviews with Shock G after he died, and like basically he said that that's kind of exactly what happened was, you know, like the Humpty Dance song, like the whole character of Humpty Hump literally came together a few hours before they went to shoot the video for that song. Like they went to a costume shop,
Uh,
um, and he found like there was this huge box full of like fake noses. And it
mm-hmm.
was like, fake pig noses, fake elephant trunks. And then he found this big brown fake nose and, picked up some ridiculous looking shit at this costume shop. Humpty Hump was born. That song blew up. And the record label then wanted absolutely everything to be Humpty Hump all the time. And they were like,
Uh,
they had no desire to do that. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
their biggest influence was like Parliament Funkadelic. And if you like listen to their actual albums, it's like they had like 7 minute long like weird ass funk songs on it. Like
Mm.
they weren't all just like all rap all the time. They were like this really big, really like creative good band. But then, I think the Humpty Dance the came out in like 89, but then 1992 came and the Chronic blew up, and then everything on the West Coast just became gangster rap, and
Mm-hmm.
this really cool weird little funk rap group like just kind of nobody gave a shit anymore, because if it wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
gangster rap, nobody cared. And
Yeah.
like no labels were interested. They all just wanted the next, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg.
Right. Huh. Which was also super well, literally like stolen funk
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of funny because
bass lines and stuff.
and yeah, and that's really weird because it's like influences were very similar. I mean, Bootsy Collins, George Clinton, they were on a huge amount of like those gangster rap albums. Like George Clinton was on, I think probably Snoop Dogg's album, Dre's album. He was on an Ice Cube album. He was on Outkast's album. But even though the Digital Underground was probably the closest to that actual type of music, people only wanted to hear that in the context of a gangster rap song.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they
Yeah.
loved George Clinton some suddenly, but only if he was like on Dr. Dre's album or
Right.
on Ice Cube's album. And even though Digital Underground was very much like in that exact same spirit, they weren't really interested in that anymore. They just wanted they were interested in George Clinton if he was singing the hook on Snoop's album or something.
Mhm. Wow. I did not know that about them. Digital Underground. Were they what coast were they from?
They were pretty much from Oakland.
If they were from a coast. Really?
They were from Bay Area.
I did not
Like
know that.
George, like Shock G produced. I mean, that's the whole story. Is like, Tupac started as a roadie and a backup dancer for Digital Underground, and then they put him on a track on uh, the soundtrack to the horrible Dan Aykroyd movie Nothing But Trouble. Um, and then he produced the very first song that
Humble beginnings.
Tupac ever had. Like the very first video was for "I Get Around," which Shock G and Money B from Digital Underground were on. So they birthed like Tupac's entire career, essentially. Um, but yeah, I mean, they were from the Bay Area. Um, I think he moved. I think Shock G moved to Atlanta, and that's where he died. But yeah, I mean, it's actually funny. Like, I was talking to Bianca about this just today. Is like, I was looking up like Digital Underground and Shock G songs. I forgot that he was on, like, Shock G and Humpty Hump were on, well, who are the same people. They were on the I Got Five on It Loonies remix, because it was all like Bay Area artists that were on that remix, and
Mm.
Shock G was on it because he was from Oakland,
Mm.
so, or San Francisco. He was from one of the two. But
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
man,
I don't know. Huh?
that bummed me out. Like,
Yeah.
I really liked
Now
him growing up.
now I feel like I need to go because you got me on the last what was it? It was who died recently? Or DMX.
Yeah.
I want a big kick after that because you were like, yeah, this and this, and I was like, I'd forgotten a lot of that stuff. And then who died before DMX? Somebody.
Doom, MF Doom.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I don't think I went deep enough because I
Doom is
forgot. But
hard. Like, I discovered all this. I didn't even realize that he spent like the last 15 years or something like that living in the UK, because he was born there and he moved to the US. But after September 11th, like, people started really cracking down on like visas expiring.
mm-hmm.
And so his visa came up and they didn't renew it. And so he got deported back to the UK and basically lived like the
Mm.
last 12 years, 15 years of his life or something like that. Um, and I hadn't even realized that because he was such a huge artist here in the US that I just assumed he lived here. And he did for a while, but then wound up getting deported. I'm like, you can't deport
Jeez.
Doom.
Huh.
But he's hard to get into. Like, people that, but he, like, the people who really like MF Doom love MF Doom. I definitely appreciate him, but I've never been able to really get into him because he's just like a very odd kind of guy. Like, his song structures are like incredibly short. Like, he doesn't, most of his songs never have choruses. Like, he's just very unique in the way that, like, he created music, and it can be like, he's a challenge, but people who love him like really really
Mm-hmm.
love him.
I feel that description applies to a lot of other things I like
Mhm.
kind of challenging, and like not a lot of people necessarily like it, but the ones that are into it, like they really get it, and
Yeah.
it's kind of maybe like kind of get nerdy about it or something.
Yeah.
So that's why I think
Like,
it has the
people
same feel. Like
really get like super nerdy about Doom because, I mean,
yeah,
he is incredibly like he I think he's kind of conceptual in like the way that he wrote stuff. It's
mm-hmm.
like it takes a while to unpack it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm kind of like that. Like, I probably, my favorite rapper is like this guy named Aesop Rock, and like, he's he's like that, but I think he's more approachable because his songs do kind of have a very very traditional song structure.
Mm-hmm.
But like, Doom is like that, but then he also just throws structure out of the window entirely too. Um, and like,
That sounds
has
fun.
really short songs with no choruses. So he's never, I mean, I don't think he's, I think the most commercially available thing that he ever did was he did an album for Adult Swim, and Adult Swim
Hmm.
characters were on the album too, because he was a huge
uh,
comics and cartoon fan. He just loved them. So it kind of made a lot of sense to like just put those two things together.
Yeah.
Um, it's probably the most commercially available thing that he ever really did.
Mm.
But Bex, I'm
Yeah, I'll just
curious. Bex messaged us and said that Sir Mix-a-Lot ruined her life forever, and so I want to know more about exactly how that happened.
yeah, I'm curious how that would happen. I don't
But
I feel
oh,
like I only benefited from his I'm sure it has something to do with his hit.
I Macklemore, weird white guy from Seattle, had Sir Mix-a-Lot in a video, and I thought it was kind of cool. It's interesting. He kind of oh, Becky, yeah, beginning of the song. I can understand that now.
Oh.
Oh my God, Becky, look at
Yeah.
her butt. Yeah.
Yep.
So Macklemore kind of disappeared off the face of the planet. That's something I think we all saw coming.
It seemed like, and I don't know except for I like that there was a song about thrifting. Was that the
Mm-hmm.
person?
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that because I'm like I understand it. I'm totally aligned with. But everybody hated on him, and I sounded like maybe he was like a construct or something.
He very much
Like it
does. I
was.
mean, he's kind of the epitome of a non-threatening white rapper, and he's also like achingly like. I don't think that he's untalented at all, but he's also just like he comes off like he's trying really, really hard to be sincere and genuine a lot, and it's just kind of like you're trying really, but people hate him kind of many rightfully so because he beat out Kendrick Lamar for a Grammy and everybody was like, okay, this is the most ridiculous thing in the
Oh,
world. Exactly.
well, maybe
Beck said
misplaced
Macklemore winning
hatred.
rap album over Kendrick is still a crime. It absolutely is.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
he did have a
that
song with
doesn't sound right.
Schoolboy Q that I liked though.
Okay. But by the way, like calling somebody a construct is, I think it's gonna be my new
You're a fucking
like
construct.
my ultimate like nuclear option insult. You are a construct.
Yeah.
Or just,
I
I
mean
mean, immediately you just like wave them away as if it were magic. You're a construct.
but
The way
that's
that people use NPC, I guess.
yeah.
But
But in reality, it makes complete sense. Like, I feel like record producers are always trying to find like the next like I was watching there's this really good kind of documentary series on like hip hop music on Netflix and I can't remember the name of it, but the way that it's the way that it's kind of structured is each episode is about kind of the music in one certain region. Um, and I was watching one on Oakland, and they covered like Too Short and kind of his genesis, but they also covered Hammer. And like people are always looking for the non-threatening rapper, and like Vanilla Ice was that, Macklemore was that, and Hammer was that because like he was kind of more interested in the dancing part than the rapping. And
mhm.
so he was kind of like this golden goose that could do no wrong because he was non-threatening, he didn't swear, he didn't have anything violent in his albums, and he put on this crazy fucking stage show that like everybody would want to see. um and so he was just hugely successful because like it was like, well, this is rap music, but I actually like it because it's not all about violence and women. It was kind
You
of
know,
like the white
I don't
person's
usually like this
entry.
kind of stuff, but
Exactly. It's exactly what it was. I usually don't really like rap music, but I just love Hammer. He just the way he dances and his pants and everything. It's
he's
like
got it
he's
all.
yeah. It's he's
Call,
the non-threatening gateway
God,
for white people to like rap music.
oh my God, non-threatening uh music or that's just like ah, that's just so gross. That just makes me feel
It's like Christian rap
gross.
music. It's
Non-threat
always
the
like,
non oh, it's like a non-threatening option for it is you know what? It's very similar to I don't know if you grew up around those people. I mean, when I was little, we went into like the Bible bookstore, you know. That's the thing. I don't know if anybody out there has ever been, but um it's I guess it's still a thing. But I knew people who would go and actually like they're like my buddy. I had a couple of good friends in high school that were really kind of like really into I mean they're Christian and they were really kind of into that. Like we all liked metal and stuff. But they were sort of like also on the like Christian like they're really into Striper, which is I don't know if you know about Striper. That
ooh,
was like the
yes.
which I still kind of have like a nostalgic, love for that because I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, that was awesome. I remember that song. Um, but we'd go into the Bible bookstore and look like they have like the little music kiosk thing you could go listen and things, and
Hmm.
they had like fucking like Christian death metal. I can't
Like,
remember the name of it, like Christian punk rock and stuff.
remember POD? POD
Yeah,
was like
POD
a
was
Christian metal band, or
they're like
Christian
metal
new
grunge
metal
or
band
something.
that
I
like
didn't,
made it
I
really
didn't,
big for a while.
yeah, I didn't know they were Christian.
Yeah.
Um, but like it was I don't know, like I could deal with some of the because it just sounded weird, like the what they were calling like Christian death metal. It was just like, all right, I guess that's it's interesting, um, but like the non-threateningness of like a lot of the stuff, I just even the store itself, like I don't know why I was so disturbed by it, but it's just like, no, there's everything's fine. There's no like darkness or edges anywhere in the world. Everything's okay. And like I would feel as a Christian if you believe in
You- have you ever
that
come
that allows
across?
you to deal with darkness and
Right,
edgy stuff more easily.
right.
I would think. And I'm not talking about these guys because they were cool guys, but just like the whole concept of like having to have a non-threatening
Hmm.
option that's like safe or
Have you ever
whatever.
come across the websites that are like they're targeted towards Christians, and they're like are is like they're almost like ratings for like TV shows and movies, and it points out
Oh.
like all of the things that are not Christian in those things to like can't like should I allow my children to go see the Avengers or some shit, and you can go to this Christian movie website and it'll point out all of the things in like the Avengers movies or any movie that you want that don't fit with like a Christian message. And so there's like it's early warning for like, parents to be like, I want to raise my kids in a Christian household, so should I allow them
Hmm.
to go see this movie or whatever? It's just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to me that if you care that much and you're like you're going to be
Right.
sitting there watching, you'll be offended by you know
Yeah,
use of magic or something. I don't.
exactly.
But yeah, I'm just like your kids are going to grow up and see everything, so don't even
And
worry about it.
chances are, I mean, it always seems to me like the more you shelter a kid growing up, the more fucking batshit they're gonna go as soon as they have the chance.
Well,
Like, just
there's that too.
think of Rumspringer, man.
Uh, remind me.
Rumspringa is like when somebody's when a child is being raised in an Amish community, they have this opportunity to leave
Oh,
their
yeah.
community and go live and do whatever the fuck they want. And so there was an entire TV show, I can't remember the name of it, that was all about like these Amish kids going into the world and just going buck wild and getting like hammered and doing drugs and having sex and doing all these crazy things. And then like when you have that all of that out of your system, you can choose whether to go back to your Amish community or whether to live the rest of your life outside of it, which makes a lot of sense. It's like you're at least giving them the opportunity to experience a different lifestyle and then choosing whether they
I
want to, breaking
if it's
Amish apparently is what it was called.
if it's
Bex
that good,
told us.
it will stand up to that kind of
Bex, we need
test.
you here every week to be my fact checker and Googler of things. So I hope you have nothing
We've
going
never
on Saturday for the rest of your life.
we've never had a
No, we never have.
like
It's
a behind
fantastic.
the scenes like
She's like our producer.
yeah,
But
fact
yeah, I
checking.
mean,
I mean, geez, who's got
at
time for that?
least they give us. I mean, at least in that community, they give them the ability to, and the opportunity to kind of choose whether or not you want to keep doing it or not. You know.
Yes, I can appreciate that. That's kind of doing it right.
So let's have a check. Almost 3 hours in. How is how
I should
is
have
the
been giving
vaccine
updates.
coursing through your blood? How are you feeling now? Almost 3 hours in.
Well, I've been drawing the same image over and over, and every like half hour on the half hour, and it's becoming slightly. It's like those when the guy did all the drugs, kind of
Mm.
slowly
Oh, who was that guy? I remember
doing
that
the drugs and
series.
sketching,
Yeah, like
sketching the same
he was
thing.
doing a
Yeah,
self portrait every like hour, right,
right.
or
Well,
something. He
in a
kept
way,
drawing
actually,
himself.
when I'll flash the for those viewers out there, I'll flash the episode drawing up when I'll show you. It basically it's a self portrait, but um yeah, no, I'm feeling. It's weird. I felt kind of like super out of it at first and spacey, and now I feel kind of okay. Like I feel like I had a I had my arm hurts a little bit, but like I had a fever.
Hmm.
Maybe I still do. Uh, Feeling okay though. Like my head's not super. I'm just a little sleepy, which is weird for me because I'm
Yeah.
about midnight. I start hitting a.
Ah,
We're
there we
coming up
go.
on.
Okay.
Huh,
1950s experiment asked an artist to
in the
take
50s.
LSD. Yeah, and draw the same portrait nine times. And it looks like somebody has done the same thing since then. It looks like it's
Mm-hmm,
been something that's been repeated a couple of times, but it looks like the
mm-hmm.
original thing was in the 1950s. The U.S. government obviously uh, did a lot of experiments with psychedelics, but yeah, Oscar Janiger, University of California Irvine
Donaghere.
psychiatrist known for his work on LSD, gave an artist an activity box full of crayons and asked him to draw his experiences. And so yeah, he did a series of 9 drawings, um, and they just kept getting weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder every time. Yeah, those are always interesting. I guess there are a few people that have done that. Um,
Probably people got grants for doing that
mhm.
after. Just a way to draw and do drugs
Yeah,
for money, I would imagine.
yeah. I'll post some of the links in the Discord, um, so you can check them out too.
Yeah, I haven't seen them since like last time I think you talked about it.
It's
Years
so
ago.
funny that you remember some of the things that I talk about more than I ever do.
Well, you because sometimes you'll introduce a subject or
Right,
something. And
right.
that was my first contact with it. So I remember that. It was like in the context of you explaining it.
There have been a few of those recently where it's just like, huh? What this thing? I said that? I that was me?
I know, you keep saying that lately. It's all
But
real
also
though.
just
Like it
yeah. It also
uh,
just shows how little I pay attention to myself.
You just blah blah blah.
Exactly. I just never shut the hell up.
Um, I'm gonna look. You're sending me
Yeah, there's the original
Brian's sending me the
1950s.
drawings of Oscar
I should
Yoniger.
have there I need to remember to start doing those sources in the episodes again where I
Did you really
find the
start?
links of things that I
You
did on
said
that
you were
one
gonna do it.
episode. I did on that one episode. Um
Okay.
and I just remembered I was like I looked a few things up this episode and now I'm going to have to re-listen if I want to try to
Hmm.
find the things that I talked about like the space junk stuff. Like the space junk like we should have like I should have those articles. I'll need to re-find those.
Yeah. Be very afraid, people. Space junk. Um. Jeez, that's neat. I'm gonna look at those.
This was
How do
something that I did want to ask. So, did you ever have any like did you ever take any courses in art specifically? Did you ever have any like art education?
to some degree, it basically boiled down to I mean, it was like at most it was like junior college art classes,
Okay.
and that was just kind of like a lot of it was just like the basic ones. But the single thing that helped the most and actually uh, was kind of like an investment in being able to make art in the future was figure drawing
Okay.
because I could see definitely see before and after like how I approach that like proportions and things and I could fake it enough now like it's I'm not a master at like the human form or anything um but that one that's like the one like I took figure drawing a couple of times like in like night classes or whatever they had it and it was great but beyond that though every this is why like I I hate the like people expecting to have an answer like well how do you learn to do this or I've had people ask well could you teach my son how to and I don't one I'm like I don't know like I don't all I know is that I just do and I make things and it's fucking practice all it is just practice everything I've do now had just come from sitting in someplace for hours and hours and hours and and so I can't point to like any you know no I'm not knocking that at all because I probably would have benefited from a lot of different kinds of education but it was just something I did hours and hours of sitting and drawing. Look at me now. Just look at me.
um no, I think it is because I was thinking about that as we were talking about it. I mean, even in an art class, it's like, you know, you kind of have to it feels like you just need to give people the building blocks because it's like you don't want
Yes.
to teach people how to recreate because we talked about how I talked about my experiences playing the piano where it wasn't really like
Mm,
all I was learning was how to replicate things that other people had already done before me and
mm,
play those pieces. It was like there was nothing in that education that enabled me to learn how to create for myself. So the only thing, I mean, if I had continued, doing things that same way, I would have become really good at playing stuff that other people had written, and I would have none of the skills to do things on my own. It's like you weren't getting any education on like structure. Like I wasn't learning
yeah.
anything about the structure of songs or how to compose or any of those things. It was like this is how you play, you know, um, this is how you play Debussy. This is how you play Beethoven. This is how you play Mozart. Not like this is how you write music. This is how you structure a song, you know. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
even in those situations, even with sort of specialized education, you still need to like nurture the creative spirit and not just like hammer in this is how you do this, that, and the other thing. It's like this is like you were talking about figure drawing. Like that makes a lot of sense. You're learning proportion and you're learning like all of these things so that you can take these skills that you learned here and then make your own thing out of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have to say, like, I don't know, I've known people who had the art school experience and stuff, and I don't know specifically how that works or like what exactly like how exactly you benefit, all the ways that you benefit. So I'm kind of just don't know, but um, it does seem to be in a lot of cases it's very helpful and like whatever they're doing there is like yeah, and maybe it's just too maybe it's just the people I know like they have like self generate their own kind of like fire to do certain things,
Well, I feel
so they apply all those things instead of trying to you know
like if you go to a
do what's
culinary
already done.
college or something like that, if you go to like culinary school or something, you know, you're obviously learning how to create certain things, but you're also gaining a knowledge of like, you know, what flavors complement each other, and then you can learn, you can use those things to experiment and create your own things and become, you know, better at that or whatever. It's like you want to learn things that you can apply to making your own stuff. Obviously, it's like not
Hmm.
like, you know, I think it's not just how to do shit that everybody's already done before you. That just kind of gets boring and pointless.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I have different thoughts and all that stuff. Like, because sometimes it seems crazy to just do like, hey, I'm gonna be out here doing my weird thing. Hope you like it. hope hope somebody connects and I get to do more stuff.
Well, there are enough.
Um,
Like I was saying, I think I said to somebody earlier, like if everybody all liked the same shit, then the only thing that we would have in this world is Marvel movies. You know, it's like there's always going to be somebody who's going to resonate with the type of stuff that you put out into the world because there are all types of people in the world and people are all going to
yeah.
be into the stuff that they're into, you know, so chances are there's whatever your aesthetic is, there's somebody who's going to connect with it.
Totally. And in some, yeah, yeah. This is what like I'm always heartened by any creative people I know that are just like, I mean, making weird shit and
Yeah.
getting really popular for making just weird shit that just falls out of their head.
Yeah, I mean
Um, it makes
like,
you feel
you
better
know,
about humans,
like
sort of.
Skinner's aesthetic is like so
Yeah,
incredibly unique and different and like it's kind of like has that Alex Gray psychedelic thing going on but like much
but
different
like
and
with D,
darker and everything.
totally, yeah, and like with D&D
Yeah.
influence and all kinds of shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. And it's
You
just
know,
like,
so I think yeah, there's always, you know, there's and then you have people that paint a red line on a canvas and sell it for millions of dollars. I mean, there's something out
yeah,
there for everybody. You have people who encase a great white shark in a block of lucite, you know, or like
and
paint
take
with
it to the
blood
county
and
fair.
semen. Yeah, it's like
Did somebody do that as an art project?
the
Because I
blood
saw
and
that at the
semen
county
thing.
fair. No.
No, Damien, the
Well,
blood
no,
and
I mean, no,
semen
I
thing
didn't see
was
that at the county fair. I saw the.
this
I
is
mean, it was a
this
wild
is
summer, but
Farmer Johnson's prize winning Holstein, and over here is the blood and semen exhibit.
it was a double-headed calf named Blood and Semen. That's
Right.
what it was. That they trotted out on a
No,
darkened stage.
Damien
No, that
Hirst.
yeah,
Um,
he did like the piss in the jar, and or was that the guy?
but well, Damien
Or
Hirst
was that
also did the great white shark thing, I think.
he wasn't piss in the jar. That was somebody else. He okay. So the great I Now I'm confused because I've seen a shark in a ostensibly in a block of ice inside of a trailer at the county fair.
Interesting.
But that was just like a thing. You pay a couple bucks and you go look at this shark.
Um,
So you're
the
telling me
it
that
wasn't a
we
great white shark. It was a tiger shark, and it was called
okay.
"The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living." Uh, it is a tiger shark preserved in formaldehyde in a display case.
Hit me with that title again.
The physical impossibility of death in the mind of someone living.
Physical impossibility of death in the mind of someone living. So the physical impossibility of see that's not a very good sentence.
I don't know. I
Physical
have no
impossibility
idea.
of the existence of death in the mind of a what was the last part of it? Because
The
I think I'm
physical
starting to get it.
death in the mind of someone living.
Okay, so it's like he's saying that it's physically impossible for death to
I love it.
be in the mind of someone living.
I'm looking. I'm looking at the description, and it's like on. It's like when you have a description of what the art consists of. It's like oil on canvas or like watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
So his is glass, painted steel, silicone, monofilament, shark, and formaldehyde solution.
Shark's pretty far down on the list.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's
Oh,
like
it's not like
wouldn't
an
you?
ingredients thing.
Right.
I don't know how these work. I've never done like dead things in a jar as art yet. So
No.
I'm hoping he got some royalties from the fair. That's all I'm saying. Because
Or the other
I
alternative
paid
is
my
Damien Hirst
$5.
then sued that guy. I heard there's this
Dude,
guy
his
going to
dad.
county fairs with a shark and ice. Fuck
And
that.
this was
That's my
happening like
thing.
10 this was happening like 10, 15 years ago.
Uh, yeah, I
You
mean,
know, that maybe he totally
maybe
stole that
Damien
from the fair
Hirst was
people.
at that county fair.
Maybe.
A shark in a block of ice. That's very interesting.
Physical impossibility of death. See, that's not a good that sentence is structured in a weird way, and I don't believe that that was intentional because he's making this title that's sound
Oh,
the physical impossibility of. I think it should say the. I'm not sorry. I'm not going to get hung up on fucking um, word nerd stuff. Yeah, it's that easy.
apparently, the shark was not preserved very well initially and began to deteriorate, and the surrounding liquid started to get a bit murky.
Hmm.
Um, I guess he re. Oh, okay. So I think he remade it with a new shark at some point.
Hmm.
Okay.
Same piece, or did he call it
I don't know.
part two in a series or something?
The shark itself cost
I
Damien
think that's
Hirst
cheating.
£6,000. Yeah, it kind of does sound like it.
It's like going back in and repainting part of your painting
Yeah.
when it's been known
Or
as.
re editing your famous movie um, so that Greedo
Well,
shoots first.
we're living in a terrible new world.
Google says, who
Yeah.
owns Damien Hirst's shark? And one of the most famous icons of modern art, Damien Hirst's pickled shark, has been lost to the nation after being sold to America by. That's not well written. Being sold to America by Charles Saatchi for nearly £7 million.
So we
So
own
somebody
it.
paid £7 million.
So you and I own part of this. No.
I guess so.
America. It was like some kind of power play. America's like, we need to get that
Oh, they
this
also
symbol
said
of freedom.
uh, somebody also Googled what is the meaning of the physical impossibility of death in the mind of someone living. It says the physical impossibility of death in the mind of someone living. That's going to be the episode title, by the way. Is philosophical at its core. To come face to face with something that is
No,
dead, something that, were it living, could end your own life, is a very thought provoking and ultimate. So apparently, this thing could kill you, but it's dead and I'm alive, and thus this is thought provoking.
sure. Well, we're talking about it.
He
I
also
guess that's
covered a human skull in a bunch of diamonds and called it For the Love of God.
that was the guy. Right. I know
Yes,
that one.
Damien Hirst.
I'm still he stole. Okay, when did this piece come out? The shark in the tank.
The
When did he
shark
create
in the
that piece?
tank apparently was 1991. The diamond
Okay.
skull was
Dude,
2007.
I was seeing the shark in the tank in the trailer in the 80s, okay?
Okay.
So Hearst, I'm coming for you. No, I don't know. That's like such a I mean literally is what Jesus.
Yeah, there was a
He's
streetwear
not the
company that put that just took a picture of For the Love of God and put it on a shirt, and they got sued by Damien Hirst. Apparently, he did. Oh, wow. Okay, so he had a series of dead things in formaldehyde. There was one called Away from the Flock, which was a sheep, a
uh
lamb in a tank of formaldehyde. And he also had one called Mother and Child Divided, um, which is 4 glass walled tanks containing the two halves of a cow and calf bisected and preserved in formaldehyde solution.
hmm, okay.
Yep. Apparently
I mean,
he killed some butterflies as well.
oh, they didn't take him down for that.
Oh, wow.
Unethical.
He made a mandala out of butterfly wings.
Holy shit.
I don't know.
That's kind of brutal.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
That
I
would take
mean,
a big
just
pile of dead murdered
plucking the
butterflies.
wings off of a bunch of butterflies, and I don't know.
Well, where do you acquire a pile of dead butterflies? That's the
I
thing. Some
think
guy
you
in an
have to
alley.
make them and kill them.
I bet he purchased them from some whatever taxidermy shop or something who probably just went out and killed them.
I'm looking at this. There are a lot of wings. I mean, can you buy dead butterfly wings in bulk?
Um, that's a good
Like, where
question.
would
I
you
bet you
look that
can't.
up?
No, I'll bet you can find someone who will
Breed
make it
butterflies for you?
happen. Well, I mean, it's like buying fucking like mealworms or something. They'd probably just go, oh yeah, oh, this is to feed my python or something.
Right, right.
No, it's probably something smaller. But
My python
Mr.
eats
Foofer, like
mealworms.
really, Mr. Foofer gets a butterfly every night for a treat.
Have you been good?
Isn't
Here's
that
your
right, Mr. Foofer?
butterfly. Here's your butterfly. Kill it.
They have
It's
this
one of the world's
giant.
most beautiful creatures. Kill it. Are you? Do you have you heard about the cicada thing going on right now? That every 17 years
the
there are
the
like,
actual cicadas,
yes, the actual
not
cicadas. There
yes,
are
not
like
your
billions of cicadas. All
right.
like, I
Fascinating.
wish I lived somewhere where cicadas were prevalent.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah,
You
it
ever you
is.
ever heard
It's
them?
I think so. Yeah, they call it the
May,
buzzing, like the buzz
yeah, I think
almost.
I heard them in. Palm Springs, I believe. I could have been mistaken. Maybe it was something else, but like they were loud as fuck. Like in the
Yeah.
parking lot of like a coffee place. Couldn't I was like, how do people deal with that all the time?
I can't go to
Um,
bed without the sound of cicadas in the
well, if
background.
you had, if yeah, if that shit was outside your window in a tree, it
Yeah.
you couldn't. You'd have to like drown it out. It's like city noise or something. Um, that's does it? When's that happening? Is it like right this
Now,
summer
like
or
right
right now?
now.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Mr. Dibbs is like he fucking loves cicadas. He has cicadas tattooed like all over his head.
Oh wow.
He lives in Ohio. Um and
I
like
wonder
it's
if it's tied
happening
into
right
the
now, and
cycle,
it's
like
every like
personally.
yeah, it's like he just posted something recently. Like, he had like several years ago he had like some issues with alcohol, and like he was also on this like crazy like Atkins diet,
Uh,
but instead of like like cooking steak and like stuff like that and eating a lot of meat, what he would do is he would go to like Burger King and just get a whole fuck ton of burgers and then just like throw all the bread away. And so he was just eating basically hamburger meat all the time.
right.
And so he had this crazy like thing that happened to his stomach where it just like something, I don't know exactly what it was that happened, but his stomach just like tripled in size
Holy
over the
shit.
period of like a couple of days, and he wound up in the hospital and very nearly died. It was a
Was
combination
it
of just
a
like a horrible diet and also just like alcoholism.
was it like bacteria or something?
I I'd have to
That's really
look it
creepy.
up and figure out exactly what it was that happened. I can't remember, but he
Jesus.
posted something recently where it was like he for a while did not think he would ever see them come back again. Like the last time it happened 17 years ago, like a part of him didn't think that he would ever like see them come back, and so it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's kind of like something special to this all happening now. It's
Mm-hmm.
like so that is
That's
very
cool.
cool, but also it's like I
So
read this
he's
article that
aware.
like yeah, but I've also been reading this article about how like just dogs and animals and cats, they're all just like fucking feasting on cicadas everywhere right now.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
So
Cicada flesh
yeah.
is on the menu.
I mean, but it is like I don't know. There's part of me that kind of I wish I was somewhere where I could actually witness that, to just like this
Yeah.
crazy explosion of bugs everywhere.
It'd be fun for a few minutes, I'm sure, but like
Yeah, yeah,
when it's like when it's like they're like sand and they're kind of in everything.
yeah. I
It'd
imagine
be
that would be
I,
miserable after a while.
like a
Like a
locust
couple of them somehow
storm or
managed to
something.
get into your house and are just like, like
Ah, God. Yeah. You're like coming in with your dog
yeah,
or your cat,
exactly.
bringing him in or something.
Yeah, I brought this for you. Oh, CBS News. The cicadas are coming and foodies are getting ready to feast. A Maryland candy company is cooking up cicadas covered in chocolate.
Uh-huh. Of course.
Oh, boy.
Cicada flavored ice cream in the cicada food festival.
I think somebody. I'm
They're
going to
even
take a.
selling cicada beer. Hmm?
Um,
This is people. Somebody's preparing this. Somebody's planning this. You know that they are.
I'm going to post something in the
BBD
Discord because I
cicada.
cannot say it out loud. I think somebody had fun editing the Wikipedia entry for cicadas. Um, because this is when you look up cicadas, this is what you see in Wikipedia.
What the?
I don't know. The
What the hell?
N word spaced out are a superfamily. This like the
It's
Cicolidias.
and to make clear, it's that with like
Yes.
A S.
it's I think it's since been fixed. Uh, but that is what is currently cached in Google.
I mean, I mean, I'm laughing, but it's like I can't believe that it's
Yeah,
stuck.
that's
What the hell?
yeah, I can't believe it got cached by Google
They're,
like
they're
that.
like, oh, like some I don't know, somebody's hobby is to like, what's in the news right now? I'll go
Exactly.
fuck with the Wikipedia page
Yeah. Everybody's Googling cicadas. Let me go throw the
randomly.
N word
Yeah,
in there.
a couple of weeks ago it was like Chinese rocket. I'll bet. Or like,
Probably.
or,
um yeah. So shall we call it?
yeah,
Is
like
your
cicadas will go back underground for 17
for
years and then pop
no.
next time.
No.
Yeah, I'm surprised I lasted okay.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I mean, it's up to the viewers, listener to decide that, but I'm awake.
you are.
I'm not feeling
I imagine
weird.
you're not going to be awake for long,
Probably not.
but
I'm a little sleepy, but yeah, you talked me through it. You talked me all the way through up to my 12 hour and past my 12 hours.
oh, very nice.
Like you talked me in.
So they're called Brood X cicadas. I guess
Mhm.
that's what they're called.
That doesn't sound threatening at all.
No.
Um, oh, before I forget, I'm going to show the little
Oh, okay.
for the viewers that here's my oops crap. Can
Oh,
you
nice.
kind of see it?
Yeah.
It's basically me. It's me suffering the effects of a thing that I don't understand in my body with weird, yeah, wearing my my sleeveless t-shirt.
Apparently,
Um,
people have been calling 911 reporting the sounds of alarms when it's actually just cicadas.
yeah, that sounds about right. Loud as fuck from from my minor experience.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, it just sounds like a constant alarm.
Mhm.
Interesting.
If it's what I was hearing, it was like lit like in every little tree in the parking lot, like little
Mhm.
trees, obviously chock full of them because it was just like everyone sounded like a fucking alarm thing going off.
That's wild.
It was strange.
full
Some
case.
strange pockets
And
of
they'll
life
spread
in
their
this world.
wings, they'll dry out, harden up.
Speaking of strange pockets, make
All
sure to
right,
find us on
ladies and gentlemen.
Spotify
Yes,
and
Spotify,
all the usual
monstark.com,
places.
monstarkandme.com,
Um,
hate45.com.
yeah, Apple Podcast. Oh, there's Taman. And now this is going on You YouTube now.
Yes, it
We're
will
gonna
be.
be part of that
Yes.
shit show as well. So
Yes.
enjoy. Our next videos will be us ranting in our truck
Yep.
with
Yep.
sunglasses on.
Yep.
Um,
Next time we'll have a little inflatable pool that we can both sit in. I wanted to
looking
talk
forward
to
to that.
you about that trend, but maybe we'll save that for next time.
Yeah, that's like a summer vibe thing. We'll
It's a
be closer to summer
very,
next time.
yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
interesting
Maybe
trend.
give it enough time, we'll do it. We'll like
I was thinking what I
we'll
can't wait
we'll
for. I can't wait for the compilation videos of streamers accidentally flooding their apartments. And I feel like on
Oh,
leases
it's a streamer
soon.
thing.
Yes, it's
Oh, okay.
particularly a
Okay.
Twitch thing, which is why we should be in hot tubs right now. But I'm
Okay.
also waiting for like apartment leases to start writing in verbiage about like no inflatable pools allowed in
Yes.
apartment
Or
buildings.
or just
I'm
outright
wondering how many
no
people are like,
streamers.
hmm how many people are violating their like housing contracts by having little kiddie pools like in their living rooms.
It it's gonna happen. Once they reach the cinnamon challenge phase where it's like
Right.
on the new, like everybody's talking about it, it'll be yeah.
I
Yep.
apparently, as a child, as a baby, I think, was in my grandfather had a doughboy pool in the backyard, which broke with me in it. And I was like in a little inflatable, like little inner tube thing, and just went
You're like washed out
fucking
to sea.
flying across the backyard.
Oh, I'm sure that was kind of fun though.
Probably.
You didn't have
I don't
time to go,
remember
what
it
the
at
fuck
all, but
happened?
I
Yeah.
do remember a fucking goose landed in our doughboy pool in the backyard once. And we only noticed because we kept hearing this flap, 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 bang. And he landed in the pool and then could not get enough speed to get flight to get out of it.
Yeah.
And so he kept trying to build up speed and then running into the side of the pool. And we had to call animal control to like rescue this like goose that had landed in our pool. So that he didn't brain himself on the side. But all right, folks,
Yeah.
that is it for this week. We will be back soon.
Speaking of stranded
Yes.
geese.
Gooses.
Sorry, you were
We were
wrapping it
wrapping
up, and I jumped right in and I stepped all over it.
Wrap it up. So yeah, we will be back very shortly.
Yeah,
And
we're around.
hopefully we'll be back on track soon. Now that all of the commissions are wrapped up for now.
Mostly, but it's not
Mostly.
affecting my life. No, I'm yep. Pretty soon it'll be all something else all the time.
Yep. All whatever the next thing is all the time.
The next thing all the time. So on that note, I guess thanks for
Until
watching
next
or
time.
listening or whatever you do here.
Yeah.
Thanks to our helpful
Thanks to Bex.
viewer Bex, right?
Yep.
For the fact checking and that things of that nature. Yeah, hope everybody's doing great. I
Get
love you
vaccinated,
guys.
people.
Yeah, it feels great. Look at this. This is like testament.
Yeah.
I may
He's still
watch
standing.
I may
He's
listen to this
still
again.
Standing.
I'm still standing. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I might be snuggling more a little extra with the cats tomorrow, but good. It's great. Do what
Do you have
want.
Grand Theft Auto
It's fine.
5?
Yes.
Okay. Bianca's been wanting to stream it. So if you the three of us could you might need it on PC.
Yeah. Yes, on PC. I don't think I have it on PC.
Okay.
I could probably acquire it because it's fun.
It's got to be pretty. I mean, this is the problem that game will never fucking die.
Right.
And so that's $30 now. It's a 8-year-old, 9-year-old game now that's still selling for $30.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that would be fun to stream.
Yeah.
With you guys.
Yeah.
If
Definitely.
you want to do that sometime. So that I don't know, that kind of stuff. And if you haven't noticed, like, I mean, probably a lot of people are just like listen, like I am. I mostly listen to things, but we do streaming stuff sometimes, and we just jump into like a game randomly, or like that D&D thing. We just like randomly recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like that. I mean, there's stuff out there.
We're
Random
relevant.
happenings.
We're cool. We're hip.
Yeah. So
I'm placing my order for the kiddie pool now.
Tweet. I'll do that too. I'll get the same one, and then we can act like we're.
We'll write subscribers' names on our foreheads. What a world!
I'm excited. It's gonna be great.
I just think my 9-year-old son has been locked up in his room watching Twitch for the last 3 days. I don't know. He must really like video games. No, that's not it.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess on that note, since we keep
on that
walking
note.
up to the edge and not jumping
That's
off,
that's what we do, man. That's what
yeah,
we do. We
it gives us
close
more
like the
time for this.
last 30 to 45 minutes of every show is us wrapping it up.
Like, well, I think it's time to
Yeah.
almost
Oh,
an
hey,
hour
but what
later.
about this
We're
thing?
yeah. Look at this. But look at this.
That is
This
fluff.
is like the benefit. Look at this. Grippo Kitty.
Yes.
Uh,
Gripple cat.
yeah. Oh, since I'm wearing this thing, I might as well show it. This is the band Whoa from
Whoa.
from uh, the Brooklyn scene.
Oh, cool.
Some of the best bands ever. Some of my favorite bands ever. So
Very
I don't
cool.
know why I need
And
to
I'm
say
wearing
that.
my
And I was going to mention yours.
Have
Yes.
You Punched a Nazi Today t-shirt available
Yes.
at help45.com. Hate45.com.
Yeah. Help 45 is
Something that's that's
another thing you can't talk about yet.
Yeah, no. I have to play both sides. It's just I
Damn
have
it,
to
you
keep
blew
my
it.
bases covered.
Hell yeah. It's a win-win.
Yep.
Yeah, so go check out that stuff.
Yep.
And you're just really quickly, are you in research and development for new-ish things? You did some like remix stuff. Not metal remix, but you did like remixes of your do you have actually maybe this is another bigger question for later. I'm just curious if you have like
I am thinking,
Go.
yes. Bex and I had a Tumblr blog a long time ago called Cats and Weed, which I think I could make into a viable t-shirt stuff.
Yes.
That's something I really want to do.
Gold.
But yeah, I put something up in the shop a week or two ago called "The Freshest Damned Antifa Hoodie in the Known Universe," I think is the title of it. And basically, I put the Antifa soup can on the back. I have the smiley face, the "Have You Punched a Nazi Today" design on one of the sleeves. Along with two of Christoph designs, the Antifa design and the Fuck Donald Trump design on one of the sleeves. And then the Antifa, Anti-Fascist Social Club logo on the front with a drop shadow, which is the Antifa Pride logo. So I just wanted to make I wanted to use every single area that I could print on the shirt. I wanted to put something there. And I just made it for myself because I wanted one that was just completely nuts. But then I just put it up on the shop. I think it's like the most expensive thing on the shop because it cost me like $45 to print each one of them because of like the number of printing locations on it, because both sleeves, the back and the front. So it
Like
costs quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I just to place my two samples, I think it was over $80 just for two of them. So I think it's like $60 or something like that, but it costs me a lot to print each one of them. But they look, I mean, I think they should be showing up next week. I'm looking forward to actually seeing them. It's like I placed my sample order well over a week ago. I placed it on the 8th and it's still being fulfilled. So it's been being fulfilled for over 2 weeks now.
Too many damn things to print on that.
Yeah. So it's just been, yeah. But it looks, from the mock-ups, they look pretty fucking cool. So
yeah,
I'm excited about it.
I want to mention it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, because I never promote my own shit. So
I know.
I'm bad about it. Bex and I were talking about that just the other day. Like, we had a Twitter exchange about that where I'm like, God, I have to dedicate myself to these platforms that I try to avoid in order to make, to promote stuff. I think I just have to like give into it a little bit and just curate my experience and put in the work to make sure that it's like not too detrimental.
Just
So
just output. That's my formula. Just
yeah,
output. Don't even. I mean, engage where you have to, but
do not engage. Be
yes.
one of those people. I looked up. Be one of those celebrities that like refers to himself in the third person because they have somebody managing it for them. I actually did have somebody. I in my joke about does somebody want to just impersonate me online and handle all this for me, somebody actually responded and said, is this a legit offer, because I've actually been hired to do that before. So we'll see.
I mean, you get the budget. I think
Yeah,
you'd be much happier.
I could hire somebody on Upwork.
You're a construct version of
Mm-hmm.
you would become very
Yes,
popular.
I could
Brian
hire.
Tulpa,
Yeah, I could hire. I could probably hire somebody in India to do it pretty cheap. Like I
probably,
bet that that's available.
probably
We
may
we've
not
we've been
be as
doing a
clever
little
or
outsourcing on. Yeah, yeah. Why is Brian speaking in broken English suddenly? I had a stroke. I'm okay. I just had a stroke.
you'll just have like preloaded a whole bunch of things just to put out, and then
Mm-hmm.
I don't. But then you're still stuck because then if there's anything that comes up, timely,
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll
Exactly.
just here. You got to put this in front.
Yes. You have
Publish
to
this.
say
It's like
something about the space junk and
publish. Yeah.
hot
Here's a
tubs.
list of subjects. Can you please do
Yes.
something in my voice and
Yeah.
good luck. Um, yeah.
Well, until next
All
time,
right then.
folks, go check out our
Yeah.
stuff and we'll be back soon.
People, love y'all. Be safe and everything else. And
All right.
until next time, enjoy.
Get vaccinated. Bye bye.
Bye.